let him fix that really quick.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Great. Today I wanted to really highlight some of the amazing artwork and work by our teachers in visual fine arts, the work that they've been doing. Each year they have their annual art show at the Edge of the Cedars State Park Museum, and they display their art. And there are some amazing pieces. I just kind of wanted to let the pictures, say more than the words, but you could see the amazing work both in visual arts, ceramics. They're recording quite a few things. And I just wanted to highlight some of the classes and programs that we offer at each of our high schools. So everything from graphic print design, commercial photography, commercial art, digital media, ceramics, painting, set design, video production, and visual art. So we have art teachers doing this type of art in all 4 of our high schools, so we're excited that they continue to do this. It was really fun for me to be able to attend the art show and speak to a couple of the students and have them tell about their process and the ideas and where they came from. So I think this is just, I really encourage you to go to Edge of the Cedars and check out the amazing artwork that is there.
And I would like to note, I think we were told, at least by one of the art teachers, that if you go to the museum and let them know that that's why you're there, they will let you in without charge if you're there to see the art show. So, okay. I think that next item on our agenda is oh, yeah. Rebecca Benally, we're ready to hear. Brenda Whitehorse, sorry, oh my gosh. I'm in a different meeting. That's right. And I'm actually not in a different meeting, but we did have a previous meeting where she presented to us.
That's okay. This is not the first time I've been mistaken for her. She's a wonderful lady, so if it was anybody else, I would be like, what? Well, good afternoon, school board members. We have some students that should be online. They're wanting to present their case for being able to attend the 2025 National Unity Conference in San Diego. So I don't know if Jared, are you able to get them?
I opened a Zoom meeting and I sent Eva.
Who are your students?
They're from Monument Valley.
I need names so I can email them the Zoom link.
Okay, they're Tyler Holiday, Christina. Well, if you just email it to Elvina, she'll get them on. But as we're waiting for them to get on, I'll just go ahead and start the presentation for them. The Youth Council would like to attend the National Unity Conference in San Diego. And this gives them an opportunity to not only build leadership skills, but it also helps them to meet Native youth across the nation. And so we've actually have been really successful with Unity. The Youth Council and myself have presented at the Mid-Year Unity Conference twice. And we were able to take them to the Portland conference last summer, and it was a smaller group, so we didn't really have any problems with travel. And it's going to be the same thing again. We're going to take like about 6 students on the Youth Council, and we'll have 3 chaperones. The first day of our travel is going to be Wednesday, June 25th. And then we will be there Thursday to not only attend the pre-conference, but to make sure that students are settled in. We kind of gave you a copy of the Unity agenda, and then we also have like our agenda that's kind of attached to that. So that should be part of your information that you have. And so we do have funding to pay for this trip. We will pay for it out of our Native Youth Community Project grant. And I don't know if school board has any questions for myself or for our youth. I really know that they've been working really hard on presenting this information themselves, and so I was hoping that we could get them on and have them present the information to you. Some of the things that they've mentioned in terms of why they like to attend the Unity Conference is it helps them to not only develop leadership skills, but it gives them ideas of how they can help their community. And so some of the ideas that they have in terms of like the fashion gala that came from the Unity Conference. And so there's a lot of leadership ideas that they get from the Unity Conference. They also are really doing their best to not only preserve the Navajo language and culture, but also taking the opportunity to learn the language themselves. So one of our youth council members that's graduating this year, his name is Lance Begay. He passed the Utah Navajo bilingual SIL test. And that was amazing because he did an amazing job. He probably would have passed the Navajo Nation bilingual SIL test, but he was a little shy to take that test. So we do have students that have the ability to not only speak fluently, but they also use the language daily. So with our student that's also our chair, he actually speaks to his mother and also his family members in Navajo daily, and understands quite well. So that was really neat to learn about Lance. And then we also have several of our students that are making the effort to take Navajo language classes and start that process. So I don't know if you have any questions for me, but are the students on? In terms of the agenda, we go through all of the protocols of making sure that we're chaperoning students and that we know where they're at all times. And the way that the Unity Conference is set up, there's other youth that are there, and they actually have a very established agenda for them. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room for our youth to be on their own. They're usually with other youth attending sessions. And then also the chaperones also are expected to attend sessions as well. And we try to do one activity that's kind of like a development of their leadership skills, but also give them an opportunity to socialize and develop life skills that will help them in the future. So some of the things that we have done with them during the Unity Conference is having them be kind of like the navigator using their phone in terms of getting onto public transportation and going for dinner. So they have had opportunities to do some things like that on their trip, and that has really helped the students that have graduated that were part of our youth council, because they came back and they told us that that was something that was really valuable and has also helped them with their schooling. So
You've got E. Jones 1 is over.
okay, so we do have Elvina. Elvina, are you there?
I mean, your mic.
Can you unmute your mic?
I think, Brenda, if you could push that red button.
Oh. Elvina, can you unmute your mic? I can't see them, so I'm not sure where to look. Elvina, can you hear me?
Yes, we are here.
Okay, so I'm going to give a brief overview for our youth council on the trip. So if we can just have Tyler and Zara and Christina just do a quick presentation of why they would like to attend the national conference this summer in San Diego. So students, you do have the floor, so you can go ahead and present that to the board.
Okay, so repeat that? I can't really hear you. You have to speak a little louder. Thank you.
Can we go ahead and turn the time over to the students so that they can tell the school board why they want to go to the national conference?
Okay, my name is Tyler. I am an 11th grader at Monument Valley High School. And then I would be speaking on behalf of the Neighborhood Council on why we would like to go on the trip. I believe it would benefit us to acknowledge like the different cultural, the different native cultures, and have them be heard, and just to like learn about them, and to have them in our minds is it's good to know the different cultures and traditions of our people. And the second is we would like to go because it allows us to put our own ideas and our own minds to other people too, so that we can be heard to other people too. It allows us to speak on what we're going through too as Navajo, and that so that we can be like an inspiration almost to other cultures as well. So yeah. Thank you. Another reason I think it would be beneficial for us to get this leadership conference is because my past experience. It was my first time going that far away from the people that take care of me as my grandma. And I thought it was very good. It also teach me how to become independent, how to like take care of myself. And I was surrounded by other students who knew how to, so I had to ask for advice, and I think that helped me become very independent on learning how to budget my own money and all of things like that.
Okay. Christina, do you want to share any thoughts that you might have?
Well, for me, we went as a group, and most of them I didn't really know, and I believe that talking to others and making like the projects and videos that we're doing, it was really helpful to be able to speak about where we come from, since there was a lot of problems there, and we were able to talk about native injustice and like indigenous missing people. And the struggles of it. So we were able to put together some projects with our team members, and that was really helpful for me because I'm more like a team leader, and I was able to be a team member. And we are presented as one, and we spoke to others.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with the school board, and we'll go ahead and turn the time over to the school board to ask any questions.
Does anyone have any questions related to this conference?
I guess I do. Students, I've asked other students who have come here and asked to go to attend these Unity conferences, whether it's the mid-year conference or the national conference last year and the year before. And the one thing I'm most, I guess you would say, is strict about is if you can put yourself out there and network and really engage with what's going on in the conference, that will show me as your school board that you're serious about attending these conferences, that you're serious about learning and being knowledgeable with other youths like yourselves. And maybe you can provide a solution to what's going on within their own communities, or what shortcomings they have with the schools or, again, with the communities. So I just wanted to reiterate that please take this very serious in the sense of I want you to learn, I want you to network, I want you to engage fully. And as nice as it is to travel, I want you also to be very responsible, because even though I put this to you, my son was a Unity member. He's spoken at Unity. He's actually been a guest at Unity as well. And we know the organization and Mary Kim Titla and what she's trying to do as well. But it only works if you, the youth, can give 100% as well. So that would be the only thing that I would say in that. So if you can really engage, that would be most beneficial. Thank you.
Just a comment and a word of encouragement, students. Yat to he ngiltaanollo kwellani tlenigi to zat an hienot ego hot ade bodol alt ishibaka ino senigidi in ollegi biona eko badahuist ultraben kan hot anidan o jodalle. So with that said, students, thank you for being online and listening to your school board members, and I encourage you to stay in school and learn as much as you can. Education is the key to the rest of your life. Enjoy your trip.
Jat eishalchen shade o hian hididishnik. Ado for showing an interest in your language or your culture. Ado share it with your with the other scholars. Diegon hit the nebazal bayadal tito. Awat nantian beat salani do da ol ilido be adenos senit awat egol. Nana shalchena beltainol traigi njanobe but introduce dalle ado do khashin dan himadon hishagi jo ebit ado da ilte ako hut anjano ba danol zano enjando lelto njano bidahol ato ahut obana krisheyo bashil rejon salchena ahut au ko hya salchena ado ahut anso kedo nice ko share it with other students di dahot ela do di banda altela dan seno ye oben sozon ako hut anjandale ako hya.
Thank you, students. That concludes our presentation. I really do appreciate you presenting your case to the school board, and thank you so much. And we'll find out if they approve it or not. Have a good day.
Brenda, I just wanted to note that there are chaperones attending with these students as well.
Yes, so
correct?
the chaperones are myself, Tony Pelt, and then Elvina Jones. So we have 3.
Okay,
And
thank
just-
you.
Sorry.
Six students.
Right.
And possibly 6 students, but they have to be eligible to attend.
That was my question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want me to stay here and do the next one?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I was nervous for them, but. So thank you again, School Board, for not only listening to our Youth Council, but this other part of my presentation is just to ask for your support with our Johnson O'Malley program. So as you know, our Johnson O'Malley program has been cut by 92%. So last year, our funding was 168 grand, and I don't have the exact total, but that was how much we were allocated. And for 2025, 2026, we're being allocated 12,600 and some change. So it's a significant cut, and the Indian Education Committee has submitted a letter to Navajo Nation President Bu Nigrin, and then also I've informed the Utah Navajo Division of the percentage cut of our JOM program, and some of them were not aware, and so they're going to do their best to advocate for additional funding. But it's actually a 92% cut throughout Navajo Nation, so it's not only affecting San Juan School District, it's affecting all of our school districts across Navajo. So, and that's my plea, and if you can read the letter, and if you agree to sign the letter for us and advocate with us, we would appreciate it. And it's all written there. And JOM has been a program with San Juan School District for over 50 years. I've actually started my career as a JOM secretary here at the district, and then worked with Clayton Long at that time. And so it has been a constant, it's kind of like that
old friend that you can always count on, you know, in good times and bad times. It's always there, and the funding source was always there, constant funding for the Native American students, and then also to not only
improve our cultural and language programs, but also support regular academic needs in the schools. And so a lot of the regular ed teachers also submit their proposals. And so they purchase anything from science, reading, math, curriculum, all the way to culture and language materials. So that's my plea to the school board, and I don't know if you have any questions in regards to that, but that's
President, can I make a comment?
Yes, thank you.
So Brenda and I were able to attend Navajo-Utah Commission meeting yesterday in Navajo Mountain, and this was conversation came up about JOM funding. So I would think it would also be beneficial if the board does approve this letter, that we also send a copy of this letter to Navajo-Utah Commission so they can share that out. And there, I think they would benefit from that and would like us to do that.
And you're asking for the commission to be in support of,
well, because our program is contracted through Navajo Nation.
right,
So the advocacy has to go through Navajo Nation.
okay.
So that's like our chapters, our council delegates, our president, because we're contracted through Navajo Nation for our Johnson O'Malley program.
So it would be President Nygren that would approve a bigger,
But he would be the one to advocate
oh,
for more
advocate, okay.
funding.
Okay, thank you.
So as a board, we are just showing our support for asking. Nelson?
Does Navajo Nation contract with BIE or BIE's contracting with JOM?
So we're contracted with Navajo Nation, and then Navajo Nation is contracted with BIE, and then BIE to the government.
BIE schools as well?
BIE schools are under Bureau of Indian Education, yes, and then the government.
So they're getting cuts as well?
I'm sure they are. So I'm not sure about their particular cuts, but just mainly Johnson O'Malley and how that cut has come down to not only public schools, but schools that have BIE that are also in tribally controlled schools as well.
Well, if that's the case, it seems to me like the U.S. government is contradicting our treaty rights by discontinuing federal funds for education.
I would agree to that, and I think that's why it's important to give, to ask for the advocacy back from Navajo Nation to do that advocacy for, in behalf of our school district and other districts.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
And another thing we need to do is probably go through the Northern Agency Committee and do another, like maybe a resolution for them to pass and then submit it to the president's office too.
Yeah, I've mainly worked on this with our Indian Education Committee for JOM because they wanted to advocate for the funding. And we've seen so many good things with the JOM funding across our schools. And there's evidence in every school of how JOM has impacted student learning in a very positive way. And so for that reason, they really are strongly advocating for additional funds. So that's where the advocacy started from, is from our Indian Education Committee.
Yeah, thank you for drafting this letter, and we will determine our action on this later in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, school board. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, we're ready for Trevor Olson. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So House Bill 182 made some changes to, does this need to be green or is it yellow?
Green.
Needs to be green. Changes to House Bill 182 has us getting permission for all of our well-being screening during the registration for parents at the beginning of the year. And all of those registration have to have any survey that's going out throughout the entire year. So part of that process, the well-being climate survey, we use this for all of our mental health programs, the screening grant, school-based mental health grant, TSSA and at-risk with our MOUs, including Utah Navajo Health, University of Utah, and San Juan Counseling. So this would be added to the packet for registration upon your approval. It would then have those questions at registration so parents knew potentially what their students would be asked throughout that year, and that would meet House Bill 182's criteria to be able to answer all those questions before the school year starts. Any other questions on that? So that would be up for an action item this evening.
And parents usually register online, is that correct? So
Correct.
this is available online with the links to the...
With your approval, it will be
Okay.
included. Yep, we do need board approval, and that would be the case for any of those surveys that are coming before the board.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be in the registration packet. They can't be added throughout the year anymore.
Okay. Any other questions?
I thought I saw it said 3 times a year. Is that?
So the survey, so if one of the providers is working with those students, they would ask them 3 times a year
These same
these
questions?
questions.
Oh, okay.
To kind of get a baseline, how the student is doing in an end year.
And-
That is if they're being seen by one of the providers.
Right, and so they pull them out of class, and is that how they do it, or is it?
Not always. Some of those, we kind of have tier 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So some of those are just checking in with students. Some of those are in counseling with those providers.
Depending on what they answer the question, okay.
Yep. So some of the students that are being seen in our schools are seeing a provider for mental health counseling.
Okay.
That's done through that collaborative and those MOUs that we have. So they could ask them up to 3 times a year to kind of get a feel for how the students are doing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No.
All right.
No, thank you. All right, Derek. Dr. Begay.
Good afternoon. So this is the second viewing for the Monument Valley girls basketball spend plan, and that was just the change in the summer camp from when we last discussed. And again, it was an increase of $35, and it was a different location. So that was just because of the change in coaches why that happened. So I don't know if there's any follow-up questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
And I saw on here that you did fundraisers, or you haven't done fundraisers. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so for these programs, again, those are only if there's any costs outside of that they would fundraise for. And again, those costs would fall on to the committee to plan for, but this is something that usually comes out within the fee waiver for the schools. So again, there's no need for a fundraiser for this particular item. But yeah, that's true that there's none for this program.
Okay. And it was the venue that was changed as well as the.
Yeah, so I think there was 2 schools. I think they're both in Colorado, but because of the coach, they went to a different one, and then there was an added cost to that. So.
Thank you.
And this is on the consent agenda now, right? we approve that, we approve this.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have another question?
I did, but it's okay. It's okay. Do you want me to?
Dr. Begay, we do have another question, sorry.
To raise my hand. I just had a question as to, do you know how many students are attending the camp so
I
far?
think it's based on availability, so I think it's no more than 15. It could be less. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be less than that, though.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Now you can sit down.
Okay, I'll walk slowly.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next thing, which is Business Administrator Tyrell Pemberton.
All right. We have a lot of attachments on this agenda item here. I'll go ahead and preface before I get into it that this is a first viewing. It is on as an action item later, but there's no rush to push this through if we feel like we want to bring it back. We've taken this to the policy committee, the board policy committee, and we've taken it to a principals meeting for administrative review because they are the ones that are often most impacted by this. So this is our school use our use of school facilities policies. There are several of them. The big change here is what is our current 8230 and 8240 policies are being combined into one policy with our current 8220 policy. So the big bulk of what we're changing here is going to be in that 8220, the red line document, if you want to open that one. I'll go through just a few of the changes that we're seeing on the red line with the 8220 policy. So that's going to be where we'll see most of these changes, and I'll try to summarize here at the end. But in that first section under community use, and Jared, if you're driving that, if you want to just click on the red line so we can see the changes there, that would be awesome, just so it's up for everyone. Thank you. So that first paragraph is just a language added just to make sure that we're covering ourselves, if we have a group that is being non-compliant with our policies or procedures or any guidance from the local school principal, that we can deny access to the facilities. The next section under point 2, some of the big changes here is that the fees will be collected by the principal at the school level, and instead of trying to transfer the cash to the district office, that's just being recorded locally instead of being sent up here. And then the other one is that we had in there that the principal shall submit to the district an annual report of the use of buildings and grounds. We just don't find value in that report, and we have access to any of the use agreements if we needed them. That it just would be one more thing for our administrators to do at the end of the year that isn't providing any real significant value to the school district as a whole, as the district administration. So we just removed that portion so that there's not any policy violations if a principal doesn't submit that report. So that's the only changes there. And then if you scroll down with me, there's just a couple of formatting things that were wrong in the previous policy, so we'll skip through that. And then down at 8220.7 is where there's a lot of red line here. This is just basically a copy and paste from what was the user group policy in 8230, I think. So we've just moved what was the user groups into this policy just so that it can simplify things for principals and others as they're looking at policy, that they read one and don't realize they have to go read another policy to find other information that might be relevant to their wanting to use the facility. So we're putting the user groups in the same policy, so no significant changes there with any of those user groups. They're the same as what was our previous policy. This is just a consolidation piece to simplify things. On 8220.11, Jared, if you'll scroll down to that one, this is what was 8240, and so we're putting it into 8220. There is a change here. The 8240 policy did call out and just say that the Fine Arts Council groups would pay $7.50 per night usage fee. I'm not for sure where that number came from, but we're removing that and just saying that this can be used at no cost. other than what is outlined in there that they, you know, if they're using our school personnel, that they'll pay for that, or students to manage the lighting systems or the auditorium systems, that they would pay for those costs that are associated with that. But we would not charge them like a nightly rental fee or anything like that. And then the very last sentence, we've included there that, you know, when possible, that these Fine Arts Council organizations, you know, they have these special outreach programs that they would present during the school day or to our students in the district, you know, with connection with what they're putting on as an event in the evening. This kind of ties into what we received as a presentation last month from Kaigelia with our Fine Arts Councils. And so we would just propose that this be put in our policy, that they are able to use those facilities without charge. And then in hopes, I think was mentioned last month, that our students would be able to attend the evening events without being charged an admission if they're school age students too. So that is somewhat of a change on that from the current 8240. And then the rest of it there is just brought over from the 8230 again. We just kind of moved some things around where they fit a little bit better. So that's the bulk of the changes in 8220. I know that's kind of a lot there, but any questions associated with that before I move to the next part? Okay. None, then I'll move to 8250.
I did have a question.
Yeah.
So, money's collected, I just want to go over that again.
Mm-hmm.
It stays at the school level? Is there any guidance on how that money is used, or?
We're not, if they're collecting money to pay for staff, then that money would still be sent to the school district, because obviously it's coming through our payroll. So if they're paying anyone for supervisory of the event, or if they're paying for custodial needs, then the school would then make sure that they are paying us for the cost that's associated with that and sent to us. We don't have any guidance, like if it's just, you know, the nightly rental fee, where we're not seeing nearly as much usage as we used to, so it's not a significant material amount of money, that we're not providing guidance to the schools. They can collect that and use it to fill their needs, what they have, you know, at the facility level.
A fund that you'd be able to see how much they are bringing in that's being in QuickBooks or whatever. That
Yeah,
you'd be able to
in there,
monitor.
that we'd be able to see what their revenues collected from school or from facility usage would be. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Okay. 8250 is our fields and grounds facilities policy. Just a few language changes on this one. We're just adding the word occasional use of school fields and grounds, just making sure that, this is really designed so that public is able to access some of our fields and grounds, you know, without having to go through any kind of rental facility. If you wanted to come and walk on the track or whatever here, you know, you'd have access to do that under this policy. And we call that out. We're eliminating some facility language, because this is going to be the grounds policy, not necessarily our buildings, because that would all be governed under 8220. We're adding language that we reserve the right to close any and all grounds for any reason. We've had to do that in the past, so just putting it in policy, you know, if we're, you know, working on a field that needs to make sure that there's no one on it, it gives us that option to close it, and that it's in policy. And then just that last line, if an event will exceed 50 people on school grounds at one time, that they would just follow the procedure set forth in 8220, working with the school administrator to rent the facilities. You know, if it's just a small group that is using it, they wouldn't have to go through that rental procedure in 8220. So just some minor changes there with the grounds policy there. Any questions?
It looks to me they're like, basically their reference person, depending on where these grounds are, would be the principal of the nearest school. Is
Yes.
that
Yeah.
correct?
Yep. Yep.
And so ultimately, they have the discretion of whether or not that is, if they need to close it or if they need to grant permission. Generally, it's permitted, but
Mm-hmm.
But proper etiquette would be to go to the principal and make sure it's good.
Yeah.
Is that?
Absolutely.
pretty much?
And if we were closing any of our grounds for any reason, like we would post that notice that it is closed for whatever reason, which we've done in the past. And so we would post that notice generally, like they would be able to access it if it's, me with a child that I'm taking to run on the field, like, and throw a football with, we'd be able to do that.
Okay.
If it's a bigger group, we would say, that's that last line that, hey, you've got to go through the rental policy.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, go ahead.
Okay. The last one is this school equipment policy. Let me just, sure, I should have pulled this one up too. The changes here, we're mentioning in the very beginning there, we're referencing 8220 for renting the building again. That's where all the rental procedures would be. We're cleaning up some language that was in the old policy that referenced, I don't know if I'm seeing it in this red line, I'll make sure that it is there, but reference personal computer machines and being able to check them out. It was really old. I don't think we had touched this policy for 25 years. And so it also mentioned like computer disks and renting those or asking for use for those or buying those from the district. So we've just cleaned it up to where it's a little bit more modern. And so employees whose regular job requires them to use a district computer may use those computers for personal use after regular working hours. We often have them, those laptops are taken home to do work, and that previously the policy said you had to check out your device, and we just assign laptops to most district administrators and other staff that need them. So that's cleaned up. And then we do have washing machines and clothes dryers in the school are used to wash, they should not be used to wash personal clothing of employees, and they should only be used for their intended purposes. And that was previously below, so we've just kind of moved that around and cleaned up some of the old language and simplified what's in there. So any questions on use of school equipment?
I don't have any questions. Does anyone? Thank you for trying to streamline this and also to keep it up to date. And I think it is an appropriate thing that we are aware of these, not just us as board members, but the community, that we have policies and what they look like. So thank you for educating us and the community on these policies and these updates. And I believe this is also an action item, but we have the option to wait to decide on it if we feel like we need more information, but it could be acted on today.
I have one question. Has the administrative team looked at this? Did you say they had?
Yeah, so we did take it to principals. They were supportive of the changes that we made to the policies, and gave some feedback for some things we had considered changing that they just said leave alone because it's not really impacting us. So yeah, they did review it. We reviewed it in a principal meeting. Was it last month? Just last month that I think we took it to them. So, yep. Okay, well, that's all I have for that one then. And again, this isn't by any means saying that these policies are perfect. We're just trying to clean them up a little bit and simplify some things just to avoid a little bit of confusion that we've had from specific events because they were so spread out with so many different policies. And so if and when we do decide to act on this, I think the motion would be to repeal the two policies, 8230 and 8240, and adopt the changes to 8220, 8250, and 8260. And so that is as a recommended action, but it doesn't, again, as board president said, doesn't need to be done today.
Before we move on to Laura, can I just make a note? Who are our board members that are part of that policy committee? Colleen and Lucille. So I just wanted to say thank you for the work that you've been doing on that committee, and yeah, And thank you, administrators that have made sure that those policy meetings have happened. So, Laura, I think we're ready for you, unless anyone else has any questions or comments.
Okay, my first item is Policy 4341, postpartum and parental leave. So legislation passed last year requiring districts to have a paid postpartum and parental leave policy in place by July 1st of 2025. So this is a first reading for this policy and has also gone through our policy committee. And the policy meets the requirements of the applicable Utah codes and board rules governing the postpartum and parental leave. So it will define who eligible employees are. This is only available to employees who are already earning accrued leave through the district. And it also includes language on leave on a pro rata basis for employees who are not full-time. So the postpartum is available to an eligible employee who has given birth to a child at least 20 weeks or greater in gestation. And that's 3 weeks for a full-time employee. And the parental is available to a birth parent, somebody adopting a child, somebody who maybe had a child born through surrogacy, and then also being appointed a legal guardian or a foster parent. And they're allowed 3 weeks as well for a full-time employee. They can only be used once in a 12-week or a 12-month period. So that's a broad overview of the policy. And like I mentioned, this is a first reading, but we do need something in place by July 1st. And then if the board acted on it today, it is listed as an action item to make sure that we are not making it effective until July 1st to give us time to update our timekeeping system.
Are there any questions related to that? Comments? Is this a new policy or just updating it?
This is brand new.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything's new.
Okay, and it's just to be in accordance with state
Legislative requirements.
All right, thank you again. I think you're the next thing,
Yep.
so,
I
yeah.
will stay put. So this is our employee compensation package proposal for the board today. We are recommending to continue salary steps and lanes, increasing the educator salary adjustment by $1,446 to each step on the licensed salary schedule for those qualifying employees, and then a salary schedule base increase of 5.25% for all employees. In addition, we are recommending an update to our activity salary schedule for our coaches and our advisors, which is a 10% increase, which also separates out the athletic directors from, they were under the major sports category. So this would separate the athletic directors into their own category. This is based off of several years of feedback we've received from principals and athletic directors alike, that their responsibilities are year-round, whereas the major sports are just for sports seasons. They wanted to see compensation a little bit differently for those groups of employees. So at the bottom, if you looked at it, we have multipliers for the different categories. So we put athletic directors instead of on a 1.6 up to a 2 multiplier. And then for the ARL and Navajo Mountain athletic directors, they were previously 0.4, so we gave them the additional 0.4 as well. So they're in line with the major assistants. Other salary schedule we attached all of the salary schedules this year. There are some changes we'd like to point out to the administrative salary schedule as well. We have, in the past, the business administrator was listed on range 48. We're requesting to remove the business administrator from the salary schedule to help the board negotiate. And then also, we are recommending moving the assistant superintendents from 47 up to 48, where the business administrator was. And there were no changes to our classified, our licensed, or our sub and miscellaneous salary schedules. On the career classified with the nurses, we added just the position title of our CODA, which is our occupational therapist assistant that we employ to keep them in line with that same salary. That was a lot, and I talked really fast, so I apologize. And everything else stays the same we're not increasing our bronze or copper premiums for insurance. Our contract days will stay at 183 days. And then, of course, we just have the language.
Pointing out that the educator salary adjustment is contingent upon appropriation on the Utah legislature. It's a summary of what we are proposing for upcoming 25-26 compensation.
All right, it is a lot of information, but we have had time to look over it. I'm just going to put it out there to the board. Any questions? Yeah.
I have a question. Your athletic directors, so is there do some have a prep and some do not have a prep?
Right now, all but Navajo Mountain and ARL are getting that extra prep hour.
Well, that would be additional compensation, right, to be able to have that time in addition.
In addition to their activity stipend.
Is there any type of evaluation of their effectiveness?
Not right now. You can speak to it.
Yeah, I can jump in. So that was part of this conversation as we met with administrators and ADs, is really looking at what type of evaluation could we put in place for the AD and for coaches.
And for coaches.
Even if it's just a simple evaluation for coaches. But right now, we don't have any evaluation system for either one. So our plan would be to move forward with an evaluation system. At this time, we have not investigated that or come up with anything, but that was part of the discussion that we had about this.
I feel like coaches kind of have an evaluation. In my 30 years in education, they had parents calling them daily, and things were good, they didn't, and things weren't, they had, it's not a formal evaluation, but at least there was some. But our ADs, I don't know if there's anything that, they have a prep hour, and the salary is starting, it's not probably comparable. I don't know, I haven't compared across the state, but still, there is starting to become some compensation, and I would think we need to ensure that they are doing an effective job.
I agree with that. I do think there does need to be accountability there. So I would support something related to that as we agree to these kinds of things, that there is accountability. So any other comments?
I would have to agree to that because, if we're going to give them prep hour and step and, like you said, more compensation, I would really like to see that because we're all going to be watched. So, yeah. And I'm sorry, Laura, you said that we're going to remove the BA from...
Yeah, so
okay.
Can you go back to the admin one, Jared? The BA was, on our current salary schedule, was listed on range 48.
Okay.
And so on the table below, you can see we just have an X, like the superintendent does, meaning they're not on the salary schedule at all. And then advancing the assistant superintendents from 47 to 48.
Okay, thank you.
And I think part of that is just giving us the ability to negotiate rather than being, which is something we had already essentially decided with our current business administrator. So thank you for clarifying that. And Tyrell, I'm sure you worked together.
He
Yes,
does all the work. I'm up here just sharing his work.
So, yeah, I just wanted to get a little bit of.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything that's in this employee compensation package with the salary schedules that Lars presented, which is our next agenda item, is the budget book. We've built the budget around these increases here. So everything that is presented here is we do deem as feasible with the ongoing revenues that are going to be coming into the district. So
Thank you.
we did work on this.
Okay.
And sorry, I just wanted to ask if it was a little competitive for our assistant superintendents too. I mean that's a step up, right, from the 47 to 48, so that'll be beneficial to them as well.
Yes, and I think that came from, I can address that. I think that came from some of the discussion about as we're hiring new principals, and if the assistant superintendents, are going to get paid higher as a principal, which in some cases that still may be the case for some of our schools that are, located in places that are hard to recruit. But this at least gives them a little bit of a gap between there. So, we want to keep our principals, and we also want to keep our assistant superintendents as well. So that is why that is on there that way.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, I think we can move on.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. All right, now we're getting serious.
I definitely don't have enough time before 4 o'clock.
That's true. Yeah,
with
we're
this
not
next
gonna-
item. Do you
We are
want
going to go ahead and hang out for a few minutes. We do have some presentations coming up, but we're not going to put you on the spot until it is 4 o'clock. So those of you that are super fast could run and get a drink, but I don't think it's quite.
Do you need
2 minutes?
longer for your delegate assembly selection?
Oh, no. Well,
Longer than 2 minutes?
she's reminding me we could jump ahead to number 11. So, the delegate assembly is coming up, and now I don't remember. I set it aside somewhere and I didn't bring it with me. June?
It's June 7th with a pre-delegate assembly on June 6th.
Yes, and I am currently a delegate at large already. I'm willing to serve, I'm willing to go, but if we had another person on the board that was either an alternate or the person, it's possible that both of us could vote, depending on how, because I already am a delegate at large. So if there's somebody here that has an interest in attending that, or being the alternate.
I think I
either way, we want
volunteered for an
someone.
alternate, and then
Okay.
I'm not sure if was Lucille or Ron.
I didn't know.
No,
Did
he
you,
was-
Colleen? I think you
I
did.
did,
Yeah.
Yes.
but I think, was it Lucille expressed an interest in it as well?
Kind of.
We're not gonna put you on the spot if you don't want to be, but,
I think that's where we were the last
Okay.
time, was if one of us couldn't go, then it would be
Okay.
one or the other.
yes,
That's what it was.
that sounds right. So Colleen volunteered,
Yes.
as long as Lucille was also willing.
Correct.
Half and half.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we have to do anything official with that. I just need to pass that information along to.
We can also offer it up to our new board
Wait.
member as well. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Having been that person, I'm not gonna do that, sorry. I want them to, be ready and not overwhelmed. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our school presentation, and we'll start with Blanding Elementary. Thank you, Michael Johnson.
Good evening. Or afternoon. I guess it's afternoon, not
We
evening.
are in
yet.
the afternoon now. All right, go ahead. You have about 10 minutes. You can
Okay.
keep it.
Yeah, last year they
that,
just asked
keep
me
it-
questions as soon as I got up here, so I
Yes,
wasn't.
keep it, try to, focus on challenges and successes, but also give us some highlights that
Okay,
you want
good.
us
Can
to
you go to the
notice.
next slide?
Yeah.
We are working on our 90-day plan goals, as you can see on there. And we're working very hard for 70% of our students, especially our EL students and our AI, which is Native American students, to try and get them at 70% or higher in growth and reading fluency by this May. And of course, the state didn't cooperate with us on the state testing because we won't know till November how we did on the English part because they changed some of it in RISE. But we've been working very hard on that. That's what we're in CSI for, is that. So those are our major goals are always based around that, to try and work on that. Our math goal was to try and get 5% growth from beginning of the year to end of the year, and we blew that out of the water. I already know we haven't finished all the testing. It's coming in today and tomorrow, about the end of that. But right now it looks like a lot of the grades were over 20% on the math, on the growth. So that is really going well. And then our attendance has done really, really good from the beginning to the end. We've been in the 90s for our average daily attendance, which has been a goal of ours this year. I've always figured we have great teachers and we have great paraprofessionals, and if we can get students here, we can make progress. The problem is occasionally getting them here, but we're working with both those two groups, but also out in White Mesa. We've done a lot with them to try and work with attendance and have student success meetings to try and build that up too. So we're trying to increase on all those areas. If you go ahead and go to the next one. That just highlights some of I only had through the middle of the year when I was writing this. So that's through the middle of the year, but you can see that there's a lot there that have already hit their goals or really close to the goals at the middle of the year. So we're doing a lot of great things there and a lot of great work. We can go on. The next one is the math one. And that's, of course, all that is really good. So let's go on to our next one because that was last year's rise. So that's, you can consider that maybe one of our challenges. Although we did do pretty good. We did pretty good even compared to the state. The one exception to that may be our English language arts were a little lower. But with the adoption of CKLA, we've seen some huge gains this year. And I thank the board for that, by the way, because that is an excellent program, and it's working on the writing and the reading on that. Will you go to the next one? This is kind of an update on our comprehensive support and improvement areas. Our total students with in EL is 24 right now, and our AI is it's at 187 right now. So that's a good chunk of our school. So we're really working hard on those two areas to try and get out of that. We were working today on our 90-day plan for next year and also our school improvement plan, which we're submitting to the state shortly. Well, actually to the LEA here shortly. So will you go ahead and go to the next one? So you asked specifically about our challenges. We are continually always trying to support all the stakeholders to be successful. That's, of course, our students and then parents and teachers and paraprofessionals. We're working on all of our resources to try and to put that in there and trying to do our initiatives. Building capacity and shared leadership, that's what we're working with our school leadership team to continue to build that, and so that they can lead out and support that, and they've made great strides and are doing great things there. And then support our CSI designated groups to fully exit that status. That is our goal. We can't exit till 27, but that's my goal, is to get out when we can get out of that lane and get into a better lane. And so we've done a lot with grade level teams. We're reworking a lot on our PLCs to even make them better. And we've worked with a lot of positive behavior support teams and trying to, we use the house system, and it's been successful because we use that with attendance. We give the kids a chip when they come during the day, and then those that stay all day, every day for the whole week, they get a green chip, which is actually worth more house points, and they get drawn out for little prizes. And then we have white coins for great things that they do, and then yellow coins for super great things. And it's amazing how many kids have really worked hard to try and get those coins, and they see it because they can put it in their house jar, and they get the points for it, and it's really been a great thing in our school to work on that. We've also worked on our attendance with our slogan. We put that on our house shirts this year, and the kids, you see it everywhere, so it's great. I keep trying to hammer that home, and hopefully they'll remember that we're trying to work on that. And then our celebrations, I think we have high quality staff and teachers. We had one teacher who's leaving because her husband decided he wanted to go to medical school. Go figure. But so we got another teacher, and she's highly qualified and she's great. And she's going to just do great things with us. So it's been a great ride with that. And our house system and our coin system, the PBIS, which we've been working hard on, is showing great gains. And then we had strong gains in middle of the year data.
And there's our attendance for the year for the terms. The fourth term isn't done yet, of course, but that was at 93. Our goal was to go up 2%, and the first term we did 94%, so that was pushing it hard to
try and get up, but we're at 93 right now, so we've hung around the 92, 91 area. And 91 in the third term was a celebration because there was a lot of sickness that ripped through our school, and then, of course, spring break, everybody decided to take different spring breaks than sometimes the spring break and do that, so we had a few people gone. We've been trying to really work on our watchdogs and get that going even more. We have it going, but we can use more, but it is going, and we have some dads that are very interested and invested in that. And we've had a lot of cultural celebrations. We have our princess from Blanding, and our student success team out at White Mesa has been a great thing. And then we're good at teamwork and support, and that's our celebrations. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to work here in Blanding. I love this place, and this year I bought me a house here, so I'm staying for the long haul. I'm hopefully going to die here someday, not soon, but someday. So that's where I'm at.
We like that dedication. Okay. You mentioned your slogan or motto. Tell us what that is. Some of us have seen it.
For the attendance?
Yeah.
It's attendance matters all day, every day.
Okay.
And we've even put it on our shirts. We put it on our email communications. We put it on posters. And so we feel that's a big success.
Does anybody else have questions or comments?
Let's have a comment. I really appreciate your weekly reports that you sent out to us.
Thank you.
And wish you the best in your new school building.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for building me a new building. It's exciting. So.
And the new logo.
Pardon me?
And the new logo.
Yes, the new logo. Did you guys see the new logo?
Yeah.
I love it with the four mountains on it.
I saw that.
That was a suggestion from a lot of people when we were getting input, and we said, yep, that just fits. It should be there. So I like it. So thank you.
Any other comments?
I had a comment, but I lost it.
I would just add, thanks for what you're doing. That's a great report, very positive, and appreciate your efforts there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I guess I would ask one more thing.
Sure.
How are you implementing the suggestions that have been, in groups that have talked about the getting out of the CSI?
CSI, uh-huh.
So how are you implementing those into the school now?
So we took those and we've started on a few things with the plan. Really, we put the plan together, and the plan's just barely all the way, but we've already discussed how we're going to work. One of the things is working with our PLCs. One of it's working with data. We want to be more data driven, and so today we came up with a lot of good ideas that we're going to start to implement. We hadn't gotten as far as getting it in yet, but the data especially is a big concern, and teacher efficacy, and getting it so that kids are just grabbing on, and they want to come to school because they don't want to miss a day. And a lot of times with CKLA, they're starting to grab onto that. We had a teacher when she taught her Norse unit, the Vikings. She put on a Viking princess outfit, and she went out and yelled at them in Norse, and they were all like, their eyes were this big, but they were excited, and she taught them some Norse words. And I mean, they're really getting into everything about this, but we are very concerned about that. We went through today and we discussed all the things that we had talked about in the meeting, and then tried to put that into our plan. And so it is very much with trying to improve teaching and make sure teaching is off the charts, which it already is great, I would say, but we want to be even greater. And so that is another thing that we're looking at maybe doing with some of that money that the state will provide for that, by doing some trainings on that, and maybe some PSYOP work a little bit later, maybe year 2. That's kind of where we have that lined out down the road. So some of those things are what we're trying to do, and also inclusion. We've talked about that as some training on inclusion to kind of keep putting that together. We want to put some stuff out on testing, like I have a testing bank strategies, but we're calling them academic strategies because they can be used as you study, not just for tests. And so we're doing that, and then we're building, as we put those out, we want to also put out to the parents what we're doing with that, like before testing, and explain the RISE test, explain what they can do to help their student be ready to take the RISE test and to do those things. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire. We're trying to shift them around, but that's the plan right now, is doing all those things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything
All right,
else? Oh, good.
I remember what I was going to ask.
Okay.
With the CKLA, you are seeing improvement. Would you say?
We are, and especially in the writing area, which I never thought about writing as a big a deal as it is, but I kind of came to the conclusion this year that writing is the master's thesis to reading. Because if you can read, you can write. And these kids are getting practice in writing every day strongly. And writing like 5 paragraphs for some of them, which some of them grown, when you tell them 3 sentences, but they're starting to write more and more and more. And then CKLA makes a distinction in K through 2, you learn to read, and in 3 to 5, you read to learn. And so they've really worked on that, and they work on the skills in the lower grades, but they learn a lot in knowledge and reading and applying that knowledge as they read. So, I mean, you go and you talk about, like in the class, I'll be in there, and they'll bring up like the Roman Empire, and the kids just start coming out with facts and things. They're excited and they're interested in reading. They'll go check out books from the library about it. So it really has been a great program for us.
Another thing with your coin system, have we thought to put the parents on a coin system as well in partnership with their student?
Might be nice, because that the attendance is a lot in the elementary school is a lot the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a great idea. I had never thought of that. Thank you for throwing that in. We'll include that in somehow. I think that's good. So good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you for empowering our students
Thank you.
and to enjoy school.
I try, because I don't want to be bored there either. So good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Student Services, thank you, Trevor Olson. And can I just take a minute to say thank you for your work for the district for many years, and
Thank you.
we're excited to hear from you.
Thanks. So I shared the presentation, very similar to some of the things that we've been doing with our goals with community resources, mental health programs, and community engagement. A lot of the funding and title programs over the past couple of years have really gone to those different areas. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, McKinney-Vento, homeless, a lot of those low socioeconomic status that our students deal with, multi-tiered systems of support that is included in there. A lot of the challenges are similar with funding, applications, going after funding for our students in this area, trying to keep positions staffed and areas staffed and travel. A lot of those challenges are very similar to what we've been working on the last couple of years. A couple of the celebrations there, implementing, mental health programs in our indigenous communities, rural programs, telehealth, research around what works. A lot of good things have been done around those programs, including the 4-directional model that a lot of our schools use with mental health and skill building and relationships. And so there's been a lot of successes that definitely overcome the challenges in those areas. So been a good learning opportunity for me for growth and the communities that we've served, and definitely love and will take with me all of the relationships and good students and good people I've had an opportunity to work with. And with that, is there any questions?
I have a question. I know Ms. Whitehurst did during her presentation, she said JM would be cut a lot. I know that the ACE grant is ending also, and I love that you did that little diagram. And I don't know if you could you go down and let us know how much of the funding cuts will be? I don't know if you list off what programs will be cut, and I can circle while you're listing, or.
So as far as our programs have gone, I think the last couple of years with COVID, the bandwidth for title programs has been significant in the amount of money that has come, and now the amount of money that's going away. So a lot of the funding that has come and is going away is all of the ESSER gap funding, or ESSER gap gear, all of the gear funding is going away. Mental health money is trending down. JOM will be cut significantly. The title programs, many of the title programs that have estimates now are really close to what we had last year.
Okay.
But the concern is that it would be shown in next year's allocation. So Title I has not been reduced at this point until probably next year.
26,
So,
27.
So we may see those estimates. And that part of that is that money that's been allocated in Title I was done before this presidential change, which now the states are following the same process. So with some of those, JOM was cut at kind of towards the top of the list. The worry is that we'll continue to go down the list.
Okay.
Title I and Title III, Title I and Title II and Title III are very consistent for this year. We did get a notice from Title IV funding that we should get that spent sooner than later, just because that is at risk of being cut as well. So all of those programs, right now, that's the concern, is all of those funds are trending down.
Okay.
Or going away with some of that grant funding that we've had available.
Okay.
So yeah, that is definitely a concern moving forward.
That's for sure. I think you already answered my question on that part. Is there any more that we can do? Because like you said, there's going to be a lot in the next coming, and I just worry, have we done and reached out more as much as we could?
I think a lot of that is moving forward as an administrative team is looking for every opportunity to apply for funding that is available. As those opportunities have come available, we've seized every opportunity.
Okay.
To go after grants, to go after any funding that will serve our students. And the time that I've been here, we've extended ourselves as far as we could go to get every penny for our students. And we've been really successful. The most expensive piece of equipment that I helped write for and purchase is one firewall at over $500,000. So, but that was one specific program. So slowly that adds up on with the gear funding that we've had, the mental health funding that we've had, the ESSER funding, all of that has been really helpful, but a lot of that is going away. And so that moving forward, that's the challenge in keeping up with technology, with space, with a lot of our schools still share space. In some of the rooms we have older computers and our students are outside with virtual reality programming drones that are flying. I mean, I think that's going to be the next challenge, is keeping up with the technology because that's moving very, very quickly and it's not cheap. We've used a lot of our funds to help keep us ahead of the curve there. But I think as an administrative team, I think that's just, as a board, having that support to invest very small support systems to apply for those grants so that if they come available. We did apply for another Native Youth Community project that wouldn't be awarded until this summer.
Okay.
And again, that's the effort to continue to try to go after those funds. But again, we'll have to wait to see if we're awarded that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Can you speak more specifically on your challenges? You mentioned communication and feedback. What did you mean?
Yeah, I think just the challenges with all of our communities working to communicate with the many different things that we have going on. Decisions being made, communities.
There's just a lot of engagement, and some of it could be the messaging. Our principal here, Mr. Johnson, said, we're doing a lot to get our motto out there. What is that motto, right? So that disconnect of what are our goals, our mission, our vision, really communicating that from the schools to those communities. Our schools are really the hub of everything that happens, from mental health to physical health to education, and that's a lot that runs through the middle of our schools because of our small rural areas. And so with that comes a lot of work and bandwidth to communicate and work with our communities. And so it's just a challenge. Rural communities, it's a challenge to get the word out there. The last time we had a survey from our parents, the number one resource of information was Facebook, which means if you were sending home a newsletter, likelihood of seeing the newsletter versus seeing it on Facebook was more likely to see it on Facebook. So we're dealing with those types of things that if you're not posting that on Facebook, your school community may not know that it's going on. And so just those type of challenges that we're dealing with.
Well, thank you for providing that information to us, because we might not have known that Facebook was so now we do.
Yeah. So we did, through our coalition, we did surveys through each community, and that was by far the number one way people noticed something. So back to school night, and we do a really good job with the newsletters, and I think people go back to that, but for some reason it's standing out more on Facebook. So. Yeah.
We have a number of principals that have a Facebook meeting weekly or very, very frequently.
Okay.
Their access.
Yeah.
We need to have a board Facebook meeting. I just wanted to make a comment about your addressing mental health that you had here. And I see here under your support service department, you're listed, you are the director of this, right? And I'm wondering, is there anything anywhere that we're missing that could help to coincide in fixing or, making changes to what we're doing already? Or, I just worry that we're missing parts of what we could be doing, what we could be advocating for. I know everybody goes to monies and grants and everything, but it's a different story when you're in the schools or you're in the community and you're living, or you can say that this is what I'm doing as a director, or this is what I'm doing as a principal, teacher, administrator, so on and so forth. So I'm wondering, and I'm asking, per your recommendation, is there anything else more that we could do? Because I know this year in particular, we've had a hit, and I'd rather not have a hit at all. So an insight onto that would be great.
Yeah, so school counselors and school social workers that really have had the biggest challenge with trying to bring mental health programs into the schools. The district pays in FTE a little bit over $200,000, which is probably about $250,000 in FTE. So that's toward all of that salary and benefits. The rest of that, which is probably about $3.2 million, is through grants, which is additional funding and additional programs and additional applications and additional requirements that the district has to make. That bandwidth is very large because each one of those has to be applied for. The screening, the mental health screening grant, the mental health school-based grant, the AWARE grant, the different criteria to meet those criteria to receive that money. So that's $3.2 million versus $250,000 from FTE. So if the school board really wanted to make an emphasis in saying we support and we value this, then it could be an adjustment to the FTE to support that. The other challenge is very expensive for turnover. So every time we're investing in training and that's very, very costly. But the other challenge with that too, and the dynamics of those programs is each one of those programs is subject to continuing or going away. So as changes are made, I'm a big supporter of continuing all those programs, but individually, somebody's got to pick that up and try to continue to do that.
And apply for any grant and monies and just hustle, basically. Okay.
So that would be the board's prerogative to try to, support that and keep those things going.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, I think.
Yep, you're welcome.
Good. All right, we're gonna hop back to you if you're ready for that. Did you?
Budget?
Yeah, both of you.
Okay.
Ready?
You want to
I'll just give us a little intro and then turn it over to Tyrell. So each May, we present to the board a preliminary budget for review and preparation for the June 17th board meeting and budget hearing. The school board is required to adopt a budget and make appropriations for the next fiscal year by June 30th. I would just also like to just really add a big thank you for all of the work that Tyrell and his team have done to prepare this preliminary budget and the time that they've invested to make this available. So thank you, Tyrell, and pass that on to your team.
All right, we'll go over a few of the high-level highlights that are in the budget book. You all have a hard copy in front of you that will change come June, but this is at least, the preliminary one that we'll present today. There will be some changes as we get to our June meeting and adopt a final revised budget for fiscal year 25 and propose for fiscal year 26. So if you'll start with me, I'll take you through just some high-level highlights. Again, if there are any questions as I'm going through some of these things, feel free to interrupt me. I don't want to just talk forever, so if you've got questions, let me know as I'm going through. We'll start on page 5, if you will. This is just our annual letter that is to the Board of Education that just represents, what the budget was created with. And so we're recommending this as the revised for 25 and the proposed for fiscal year 26. I will point out the second paragraph there in that letter to the board does say that the budget assumes that local assessed property tax will be the same as the prior year through the adoption of the certified tax rate. So we did prepare this budget based on us adopting the certified tax rate, which allows the school district to collect the same amount of revenue regardless of property tax values in the upcoming year. So this is assuming that revenues will be held neutral based on adopting that certified tax rate. I'll start off by saying we don't have that information yet of what those certified rates will be, but we get those later in June, which is what we'll bring back in the June board meeting to present what those rates will be. So there are some pages in here, which I'll touch on in a minute, that are not updated because we don't have data yet from the county on what our property tax values are. So you'll also see those following variables that were used for the budget development. There you can see the 5 1/4 that Laura presented on earlier. The weighted pupil value did increase from the legislature this past year. That is showing there. The top bullet is 2,740 K-12 students is what our ADM is showing currently, which is down significantly from even last year. We're down 93 ADM, which is average daily membership. So that has a direct impact on all of our formula funding that comes via the state and other sources. So student count is a big deal, obviously. Then Laura mentioned some of these other things in her with the compensation package with the ESA increase, and then our insurance levels remaining the same. That does this year. We are seeing a 9% increase to health insurance premiums, and we are keeping those rates, monthly premiums for employees the same, and picking up the rest of that. And then the last bullet is staffing maintained at board-approved student-teacher ratios, which we'll highlight here in just a second, that we have added those student-teacher ratios. Previously, it was brought up last year that we have not included that in the budget book, which I think is a really critical piece of what we're doing because it drives all of our funding, what those student-teacher ratios are. So we've added what those ratios are into the budget, and I'll touch on that in a second. So that is our letter. If you'll jump with me to page 8, this is just the breakdown of the average daily membership per grade level at each school. And then from page 8 through 24, you can get a breakdown and a historical view of what the average daily membership is at each of the schools. Just a big shout out to Jonathan English for helping us put this together. He pulls the data for us and helps us get this information to you so that you can see kind of where our enrollment and membership trends are going. And so you see that on pages 8 through 24. I think it's just important to point out, we are seeing some significant decreases in most of our elementary schools, Bluff and TES being the exception there, as well as some other high schools in the district. We're just seeing significant declining enrollment and average daily membership. So anyways, that's pages 8 through 24. If there's any questions on enrollment. If not, I'll jump on. So 25 is where you can see those student-teacher ratios. This is what drives, FTE at the school levels. And so we've included that, what those established ratios are. We try to stay as close to that as possible, knowing that it's not a perfect science, and so we often have instances where it's lower or a little bit higher than what those ratios are, but that's what we kind of go off of as we look at, especially as human resources is looking at staffing at all of our schools, what we're trying to target for that student-teacher ratio. So that's been included here just so that we can all be aware. You can see in there that certain grade levels are lower in the elementary grades, and then we do have a lower student-teacher ratio in our river region schools for certain grade levels as well, to just provide additional support for those students. Any questions so far?
And you just said it was in the river region, right?
Yeah, yep, you can see that on that page 25, what the river region schools, you do have a little bit lower student-teacher ratio than in the mountain region schools.
Thank you.
Okay, page 26 through, I can't remember, 43, I think are our school allocations. These are the allocations that go out to each school based on, most of them are based on certain formulas, a per student allocation or a base plus. There's no major changes there except for one, which I'll point out if you'll turn to page 31 with me. This is where we typically just have our activity allocation, which a couple of years ago we significantly increased to support extracurricular activities at the secondary schools. There is the second chart on that page 31 is an additional allocation that's coming via the state from the State Board of Education, that they're allocating that out. This is in response to the bills that were passed regarding school fees, and so it's money that was set aside to offset the cost of fees that were being collected at secondary schools. Most of that was regarding like general and curricular fees, which we have not really ever had general and curricular fees for the most part in our schools, and so they did the allocation based on formula, based on student counts, and so that 76,141, which you can see in the total line, is what our allocation is for fiscal year 26. That represents 50% of the allocation that we will receive from this funding source. The next 30% we will receive in fiscal year 27, and the final 20% will be received in fiscal year 28. And so this is the proposal that we have to send those dollars to our secondary schools where school fees would have been collected there. And so this is an additional allocation that the schools would have to support their programs. And this is one time but 3 time, because we'll see it over the next 3 years, funding that would go to the schools. So we're including it here. There will be a lesser allocation in the next year, and then a smaller in the fiscal year 28, and then it would go away as that funding source is eliminated.
No help for curricular fees in schools?
Yeah, from this level of funding that was,
Unless they reallocate it, legislature?
unless the legislature changed and did an additional, but this is,
Will there be any kind of a report that shows the schools are gonna have to show what they charge to verify these funds being used in their school?
No, as far as we're aware, like the State Board of Education, there's no necessarily like accountability report of these funds. They are funds being sent that are really the only direction that we receive is that they go to the schools to support the programs, and like we don't use it at a district level for anything.
Because
But
we really don't have too many.
no, we don't.
We have extracurricular fees, but not curricular.
Not curricular general, right?
I'm just worried that they're gonna come back and say, fill out this report on which curricular fees you.
Eliminated. Well, I don't think there will, because a lot of the conversation that was, and I guess I shouldn't say that because you never know what could happen, but we have already for years and years eliminated these, and so that's why the conversation was, well, let's do it on an allocation and do it based on your student counts, and there won't be that because, 10 of the 41 school districts may have eliminated these fees years ago, but they still ought to receive some form of compensation to support the schools, whereas others, maybe it is actual revenue that would have been lost because they're eliminating those fees. So this is just our proposal to allocate that to those secondary schools that would have that could have charged fees, and then they can use it to support their programs however they see fit there. So it's an additional allocation there. Any other questions on that one? Okay, so that's really the only change on those school allocations. The rest of it just kind of fits with what our standard practice has been involving those school allocated dollars. And then pages 39 through 43, 42 are just some of the laws that govern, as Superintendent mentioned, adopting the budget by June 30th. We then have to submit it to the state. So it just kind of governs those procedures that we have to have and what governs that. There's also the code that addresses the undistributed reserve, which is mentioned in the earlier letter of 5%. So that's just there as a reference for anyone that wants to read legal code of what we're required to do.
When you can't sleep.
Yep. So then I'll just highlight a couple of things as it relates to property taxes on pages 44 through 48. This just kind of gives you a snapshot of where San Juan stands. So we currently have the lowest assessed valuation for property taxes in the state for all of the school districts. On 45, you'll see what the property tax rate by district are. So we are the 9th highest taxed district in the state. And then 46 is, you can see where we collect the least amount of dollars per student in property tax as well. And then just 47 and 48 just kind of give you a highlight of where our property values are in the county. For San Juan School District, these are our assessed values by property type on 47, and then a chart that you can see on 48. So there have been a little bit of changes. We are actually up over $1 billion in property tax valuations now. As far back as I've seen, we haven't eclipsed $1 billion, but I know we have probably at some point in our history. But just for informational purposes there, you can kind of see just the trend of where those property values lie. Any questions on those pages with property tax information and data? It's just kind of for your information. Okay, the 49 through 52, those are not updated from last year, so just keep that in mind because we don't have that data yet from the county. So those are still old pages. I guess I shouldn't necessarily say just old, because if we look at 51 and 52, those are, again, as I mentioned earlier, that is assuming we adopt the certified tax rate and assuming property tax values remain the same, so it shows kind of what our expected revenues are in holding those, neutral. As we get property tax data and as it comes in, we will update these pages related to that. So with that, I will jump into just some really high-level things on the budget. If you have questions, the next several pages are really where we are showing revised and proposed numbers. So if you'll turn to page, 56, I just want to point out a couple of things that are really noteworthy. Again, if you have other questions, please let me know. But on the bottom chart there, you'll see the schedule of state revenue on page 56. You'll see the third line down is blank in the proposed fiscal year 26. That is professional staff cost. There was a bill that was run this year that was passed that eliminates professional staff cost as an above-the-line item, which we refer to in state programs that are WPU based. We've used that funding, to support our steps and lanes for our licensed professional staff, and to fund salaries, really. That has been eliminated, and it's been moved, and it's considered now flexible allocation, which falls under the related to basic programs line item, which is the fifth line down there. So you can see there's a pretty significant bump, a $1.6 million bump in the related to basic programs, and that the bulk of that, almost all of that, is the flexible allocation that's been moved from professional staff to related to basic. So the really noteworthy thing here for us to consider and you as a board to be aware of is that with that being repealed and moved to flexible allocation, there has been a history of flexible allocation being like the first thing that comes up on the chopping block when we're looking at funding cuts or other things to fund other initiatives. If that funding was ever, if it was ever reallocated or moved, it would be a huge hit to what we're able to do. So there's no impact this year because it's just in a different location, and we're going to continue using those dollars to support, our staffing and our salaries and everything else with the school. But if that ever does get cut and it doesn't get reallocated, or it gets reallocated to something else to fund another initiative, it would be a significant loss and a huge hit. So just something to be aware of. Hopefully we don't see that in the near future, but if history repeats, it's something that could very well happen. So that's the real significant change on the schedule of state. If we jump to 57, this is some of the stuff that Trevor kind of talked about earlier and that we've hinted on. This is a schedule of federal revenue. You'll see that it is down significantly, $2.5 million of what our expected federal revenue is. A large chunk of that is the ACE grant. There are some other federal cuts that we're seeing, as Brenda mentioned earlier with JOM. We're trying to take that into consideration. The other thing is ESSER. We did have some expenditure, $250,000 in fiscal year 25 that we don't have anymore moving into next year. So we are seeing some significant decreases there in the federal schedule of revenue, and so just wanted to kind of point those things out there. And we'll continue to monitor that. As Trevor mentioned, we're not seeing significant hits this upcoming year. A lot of those dollars have already been allocated. We're receiving them. If there are cuts, it would likely be that would impact the fiscal year 27, as many of those programs are already allocated, and we should see our allocation for the next, at least for fiscal year 26. So that's the schedule of federal. The next several pages just kind of give an outline of where those dollars are being spent in the different categories there. If you have questions, you can let me know. If you want to ask them now, or if you want to meet with me sometime, happy to do that too. I'm gonna jump ahead now to page 64. So moving out of the general operation fund, again, that was all prepared based on the compensation package that Laura presented earlier. We were preparing that budget based on those increases. On page 64, this is our capital budget. You'll see, I guess I just need to point out, in the revised fiscal year 25, you'll see right there in the middle of the page, rural capital projects. This is page 64 again. you'll see $20 million in revised revenue. That's because we deferred the grant that we received last year, so it was deferred revenue that will now be we'll actually show it and receive it this year as we've spent down in building Blanding Elementary School. So that's showing there, in case you were wondering what the 20 million was. We'll show it as actual revenue in fiscal year 25. Another thing to note, you'll see down below, like the Forest Service revenue, which I know has kind of been a political topic and a topic of conversation amongst other rural districts, other counties that receive it. Our county receives a lot of that money. We are losing that funding. We've typically seen, you can see actual of FY24 was $312,000. Our allocation and amount we received just last week was $22,000. So a huge cut. We've used those funds to, that's gone into the capital budget to help with facility needs and other capital purchases that we've had. So we are budgeting in the capital fund. You can see that's just our schedule of our revenue, and then we are budgeting for the completion of several of our capital projects that we have ongoing with Blanding Elementary School out of that fund. The next several pages are capital projects, just kind of a history of what we've done. We haven't gotten those completely updated, but we will work to have those updated by our June board meeting. As stuff is ongoing, we're seeing things there. So that's clear through page 81, I believe. So if you'll turn to page 81 with me, this is our building reserve fund. This is the fund that we've used to accumulate resources so that we can build or purchase new buildings as we've needed. You can see that we are proposing in fiscal year 26 to actually spend all of the dollars that are in that fund. That's, to complete the Blanding Elementary School project. This is, I guess, a topic for discussion. The building reserve fund and the capital fund are very similar in what they can be used for. So we've typically had this building reserve fund that we've put the excess and impact aid funds into, but it is really for the acquisition. You can read it there, the construction or acquisition of capital assets. I guess we're one of very few districts that have this reserve fund. The capital fund kind of acts as that reserve fund as well. So I guess what we're saying here is we could spend all those dollars down and decrease it to zero, and then the additional revenues we would just put into the capital fund, so it's all in one place instead of in two separate. But either way works and serves the same purpose, that we're trying to accumulate the resources we need for future capital projects. So if there's any thoughts on us doing that, just, I guess, curious in the board's thoughts, but.
We're all a little overstimulated.
I know, I'm sorry. That's why I said, stop me anytime.
Like the capital could go to anything in buildings, remodeling, and where we've probably looked at this building reserve as new capital.
Yeah.
Fund, projects, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, and the capital fund can also be new.
Yeah, it can, but
right, so it's just.
It's probably not, this has probably been seen as, it's not gonna compete with, if we need to do a project in one of our schools, we need all new
Yeah.
HVAC system. This isn't going to compete with that, because this is for a new, I don't know, maybe not, maybe we haven't looked at it.
No, I think you're right on.
That's saving for like,
we're gonna need it, because we've had such a need for some new buildings. Now, we'll have to assess what our need is, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, anyway, if we've done a pretty good job of knocking out the top 3 or 4 buildings in the last 10 years or so that we had on our list, but anyway.
Yeah. And we're definitely not proposing we eliminate it by any means. It's still there. But if we wanted to reallocate, it's really the only revenues that have gone into this fund have been impact aid dollars. The excess above what we budget for capital and for the general fund have gone into this, plus then the interest revenue that accumulates there. But
So it wouldn't be difficult to just leave it as is too if we don't have any capital interest right now. like in a new building or?
Yeah, so, yep, so we could leave it as we are currently structured. We are proposing that we spend all of this down for the new construction that's ongoing.
Would that include any extra impact aid this year that would go in here? Or are you proposing that that'll be spent in this building as well? Or would a new impact aid be dropped into here this year?
So we can do either way. This is proposing that we spend down all of what we are projecting to be there next year, which would include any dollars that get put in for the revise, which is really what we're looking at this year would be just the earnings on investment. And then impact aid we would put in capital. But we could do the opposite and just say we're going to continue and we're going to put the excess impact aid into building reserve, and everything that we have budgeted here we could still stay budgeted, and then there would be still some fund balance left as we put that allocation in, and it would just reduce the allocation into capital. So either way we could do it, but
Okay. Something to think about.
okay, well, we are really overstimulated, so I'm gonna just gonna point out two other things. This is just really of note, just to point out that we'll bring a revised page 85 is our county rec fund. We just received today the distribution, so we will need to revise what the revised budget for fiscal year 25 is, and we'll bring that revision back and we'll make sure it's updated in 26 so that we adopt the correct revision so that we're not overexpending, because we did get what we need to distribute to those recreation areas today. So that'll be corrected. And then the last thing that we are proposing in this budget is the very last page, page 88. Our board has had bubble teachers to help us when we are, seeing these classes that are large or small, to help still support the schools and help them without losing essential programs or keeping class sizes reasonable. And we've typically done that at $250,000 and allowed for us to have some flexibility in the staffing of the schools. We're just proposing that this be $350,000. This is out of fund balance expenditure, just to give us a little bit more flexibility with that as we are seeing declining enrollments, to help, keep critical programs as we go into next year. So that's out of fund balance, which we have excess resources, so it's not necessarily ongoing as enrollment fluctuates and as bubble teachers don't become necessary, like as they climb, then that would go away. But that is something that we are proposing be spent there. So with that is your preliminary budget for fiscal year 25 revised and proposed fiscal year 26. And sorry for being windy. And we'll have some revisions in June as we come back with some significant changes as we receive additional data and have more information to share. We'll make some revisions.
Any other questions or comments?
No. I think we'll be a little better next month.
Thank you for taking the time to explain that to us so that we don't have any questions about that.
There we go.
Testament to you.
And if you do, feel free, my office is always open. If there's questions that come up, if you want to give me a call or stop by, whatever, happy to help address them as we can.
I know that's pretty far-fetched, but do you foresee anything major between now and signing off in June for this? Any major changes?
The biggest thing will be property tax rates, right? We just don't have that information, so as we get that'll be the biggest thing. We've received as much information as we probably will receive regarding state funding and federal funding up to this point, so I don't anticipate any massive shifts in.
Can you remind me when we're getting that again? I know I heard you.
The property tax? We typically will see property tax certified rates come in the first or second week of June. So it's really, we cut it pretty tight, especially with the basic rate. The basic rate actually, so that's set in a proposed amount. The legislature kind of estimates what that will be, and they're estimating it to be exactly the same as what the basic rate is. That's the one we don't have control over. We've got to levy that one in order to receive the state funding, and they're estimating that's the same. We typically don't see like what that final value is. You know, even since I've been here, we sometimes will get that after we have our meeting in June.
But that is why we have our meeting a little later.
A little later. Trying to collect as much data.
Have that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to actually ask you to give us a little bit of information about our process that's going to happen with the.
Do you want me to jump down to that?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to just review the process that we'll be going through later this evening as a new school board member is selected. So each candidate is allotted a total of 10 minutes. They've already been given the questions that are attached, so they've had time to prepare those answers. So the expectation is that they would just start by answering those questions. And there's 4 questions. And then the board can ask any clarifying questions they would like within that 10-minute time frame. And then once both candidates have had their opportunity to address the board, then the board will complete their rankings using a survey link, and that will be sent to your email address. So at that time, you'll stop, go in, and you'll put your rankings. Then the rankings will be shown up on the screen, and then the board can have a discussion at that time. And then the board will need to make a motion under the action item, and you'll need to use specific language. So you'll need to say, I move to appoint, so you have to say that, whoever it may be, to District 5, and that's effective June 1. So you want to make sure and I have that language in there for you, but make sure that you're using that language.
I was just going to ask.
I was going to say, if you look under, yeah.
And if you look under, there's multiple action items that
Yes.
have some very specific language that you need to use. So we have put that under the action items in the notes for motion. So Tyrell has done that as well.
Same with the policy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that way, it's a little easier for you when it gets technical.
Okay.
And just for your information, the oath of office will be given at the June board meeting.
Okay.
And then the term of appointment goes through December 2026. I also just wanted to make you aware that we did send the applicants' names and information to the county to verify that they are eligible to be a board member for District 5, and both of the candidates are, and that's been verified by the county.
Thank you.
that's
Sorry,
it.
Tyrell, we just needed a little bit of a palate cleanser there.
I totally get it. We got sick of hearing my voice. I did too. So we definitely needed a breather.
But we're going to go ahead and move on to capital.
All right. Thanks for the breather. I needed it myself. All right. Capital follow-up. Just for the sake of time, I think we'll forego watching the video. I mean, anyone can watch it at any time. It's on the board agenda. I just want to highlight on Blanding Elementary School, progress remains really good. We're seeing the schedule move along just as a little bit ahead of schedule of what we had anticipated. Just some achievements on that last slide there. I'll just point out that exterior framing is done. So all the exterior metal framing is completed. Painting has started in, they call Area C here, that's the north wing, so the furthest north classroom wing. Painting has started. We've also started installing some tile there. The roofing is 75% complete, and we should have interior framing of the building done, I think, by the end of this week. So everything should be framed on the interior, if not by the end of this week, by next. So progress remains fantastic there. Knock on wood, everything has been great with the new Blanding Elementary School. I will point out that we are going to take Blanding Elementary School staff just to see kind of the progress of the building. They went and did that in January, and we're going to do it here before school gets out. So we're going to do that Friday around 2:30, 3 o'clock-ish. If anyone wanted to attend and go through that walkthrough, more than welcome to join the BES staff as we do that on Friday. Any questions on Blanding Elementary School?
I would just like to say thank you for spearheading this and being on top of things. It's really exciting to hear that we're on track. That's amazing. And also, he's not here, but thank you to our building and maintenance. Steve, Frank,
Yep.
he has been, and thank you to all involved in hiring him. He has definitely been an asset to this project and to our district team as a whole, so.
I would echo that. Yeah, I don't deserve any of the credit here. This has been a team effort. We've had, from the beginning, we've had a lot of people involved with it, and we've been really blessed and fortunate, and it's been, for all things considered, a pretty smooth project. So really grateful for all those involved, and Steve has been awesome to work with, to bring him on, and he's just picked the ball up where it was and just kept on rolling with it. So it's been great. Thanks.
It seems like every project we've had recently in the last few years, one of the big problems was procuring all the heating units and all the, has there been any issue with that, or have we been able to get the things we need? And
We've been able to get them. In fact, we had all of our.
it's a supplier problem, and
Yeah.
we haven't had that one.
And if you talk to please knock on that wood, because if you talk to anyone in the construction industry, they'll tell you they've experienced that specifically since the pandemic. It's been just amplified, that problem. But no, with this project, all of our like electrical switchgear, all of our HVAC equipment, rooftop units, all of that has been procured. It's on site. I mean, we've run into some things that get delayed, and it's a huge credit to the Westland team and all those involved, that as we see some delays, they just pivot and they work on other things that they're not able to do, so that things have just kept going and run smoothly. But no, we have not run into any major delays in equipment up to this point, and we've procured pretty much the bulk of those large items that we typically would see delays in, and they're already procured and ready to go.
That's fantastic.
So
Just the elevators.
that's a bad word in this room right now.
That's why as a board, we chose this plan and not something, yes.
Elevators are a unique challenge.
So pat yourselves on the back, those of you that made that decision. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
You can go ahead and move on to the next thing.
Well, I've got some other things that aren't. So that's Blending Elementary School. We did anticipate bringing to you all bids for our entryway projects, our secure vestibule projects for Montezuma Creek and San Juan High School. So I just want to give the board an update of where we're at there. We did have it out to bid. We only received one bid on bid day, and due to the lack of competition with the bidding process and the public procurement process, we just didn't feel comfortable moving forward with one bid, and so we decided to cancel that solicitation with the State of Utah Purchasing Department. We canceled that solicitation, and do plan to re-solicit to see if we can get some additional competition to make sure we're getting the best pricing that we can and have a competitive process instead of just the one. So we don't have a bid to bring you today, and then that's really a bummer. We were really hoping to get those projects underway and completed this summer. Our plan now is to rebid we'll put it out for rebid and resolicitation. Steve has done some legwork in contacting contractors and just making sure there is actual interest in our projects. And so we do feel like we can rebid and receive some additional bids, and we'll get competitive bids that will come in this next time. And so we're planning and hoping to rebid actually both projects starting next week. And then in our June board meeting, we would hopefully bring some bid numbers back. So again, for our capital committee, we'd love for you to be involved in those bid openings again with our design team.
Speaking to that, we do need to make a shift with the capital committee, because we're losing Nelson, is that correct?
Yep.
And I am currently on one committee, so I'm willing to take that role if the rest of you are okay with that.
Where are you going now?
Unless you want to assign the new board member to be on it.
I've been that person, again, I don't want to, we can do some shifting, but I would wait to do that, so, yeah. anyway.
So this would move it back to next summer, right?
Yes.
Go through the process, which
It
I
wouldn't
think could
happen
be
this
really
year.
helpful to the bidding process too, because I think time to get I had an opportunity to speak to somebody locally too, and they said they need time to build the manpower to do this with a short amount of time in the summer, so.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point, and that was one of the things we were worried about we didn't have the documents all designed and ready to go much earlier, and so we bid it as soon as we could. This would push Montezuma Creek because it impacts everything inside that front entryway in the offices. It would push them to next summer. We'd still bid it now with the timeline of the work being done in the summer of 2026, so it gives contractors plenty of time to procure the materials and the manpower with an understanding that they would start just as soon as school gets out for that project. In working in Steve's conversations with those contractors and in what we're trying to do as to not overwhelm ourselves for next summer, because we do also have a couple of other projects in Monticello High School and ARL that are underway right now to try to address those secure entryways. What we would propose doing is with the San Juan High entryway, because it's an exterior project, even though it will kind of have an impact on the school, that project could actually start still this late summer and move in, and they would try to get that actually completed in the next 7-8 months, and then we would be able to focus on those other 3 next summer. So that's kind of our hope and anticipation, that we would bid them both, with Montezuma Creek timeline being next summer, and San Juan High, we would work with the contractor and with the school to still see that project move forward. Unless there's any major concerns from the board, that's kind of our plan of action, is to re-solicit bidding and give those contractors more time to be able to do those projects.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to make that happen, and yeah, we support you. Anybody else has comments related to that?
And we're still within parameters of our legislative,
The grant money.
The funding that was received for it?
It's all
Yeah.
funding. Okay.
Yeah, there was not a timeline set on that money that we got to help us with this project.
Okay.
And so we shouldn't run into any issues with that funding. Now, that's only a portion of it. The rest of it's paid for out of our district funds, but.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So in June, we would hopefully be bringing,
That you have it, yeah.
we would be bringing a competitive bid back for the board to approve us to.
Would it be
Contract with us.
necessary to have a special meeting if we didn't have something before the board meeting?
No, the current timeline wouldn't
Okay.
warrant a special meeting, because where we would be putting it out for bid next week, there would be
We should be able to have
a couple of
something by
weeks
then.
where it's open. There would be another walkthrough of our buildings, and then another week for the contractors to put together their bids, and then we would receive them probably the week before board meeting, review with the capital committee, and then bring a recommendation for an award of contract with the low bid to the full board for approval. All things, hopefully if everything works out. So no need for another meeting.
I know, I just had to ask.
Yep.
Just in case we want to help it along. And yeah, the current elementary school. is-
Okay, yeah, the next item. Man, I needed to bring water or something. I've been talking way too much today. No, it's okay. We're almost there. So this is our current Blending Elementary School project. The motion last month was to find out some additional information. So I just wanted to come back and report on some things that some of the legwork that we've done. So one of the requests was to talk to other districts, see what they do. That's kind of all over the place, so it was kind of hard to nail down. In talking to some of the big districts are held to different requirements than small rural districts. So actually, if property is deemed surplus in large urban districts, they actually have to offer that up to local entities, so cities or counties, to purchase the property from them before anyone else can be considered. So that there's some history of that. They directly negotiate and work with they actually outline in code what the purchase price would be, and it's based on appraisal value that was received by the school district and by the purchasing entity. So there's some history of that. It is kind of all over the place on what people do. So that was kind of hard to really, I guess, put into any kind of like documentation of what the best practice is, because everyone kind of has a different practice. Another thing that was asked, oh shoot, I should have pulled it up because I can't remember now off the top of my head. I'm sorry. No, so the other thing was like a demolition cost, I think, was asked about. I need to pull it up, and I may have to follow up with the estimate. We did get an estimate, and this was a couple of years ago when we were doing this, and the estimate I think was around $800,000 to demolish the building. Obviously, I think that would be a little bit higher now. I'll have to pull the exact number, but that's kind of what, and that's really rough. That was when we had BDK involved, and they helped us out with kind of estimating what that cost might be if we went that route. So, and that was when we were considering the possibility of building on site and demolishing the building to have that space. So we were talking 800-ish thousand for that. And then the final thing was the appraisal. So in talking to the appraisers is the company name, they have history here. They actually were the ones that worked with us when we did appraisals for Monument Valley and Bluff property. There they have extensive history in San Juan County. They're on retainer with the county for assessing values. So they were the ones that I talked to about doing an appraisal. They could not get to it. They told me if we were going to do it, that the earliest they could do it is early June, because they're doing work for the county right now in assessing property values. So they said the earliest we could get to it is June. It would take a couple of weeks from there. So that's why we're kind of bringing it back as to the board if we want to go that route. The cost that he kind of gave me of a rough number was $2,800 to $3,000. To do an estimate that would give us like the highest and best use analysis of the property. He said that they could kind of give that based off of, because I think one of the other things in the motion was, the value of the land versus the value of the building and the land. And so he called it the highest and best use analysis, like what is the value of the building? Does it have, at its highest use, if there's certain things that the building could be used for, what's its most valuable use? And then also just considering like just the value of the land and where it's at, they would appraise that as a whole. So they would give us both. So that would be $2,800 to $3,000. He said it would take a couple of weeks, so we'd be mid-June. I guess we would hopefully have kind of that appraisal report back before the June 17th meeting. That would be pushing it, but it would be close to what he said. So that's kind of where we stand with that. So we do have this as an action item. I just want to make sure that if that's what we want to do, that we just go that route of hiring them to come and do that appraisal to give us kind of the value of the land, so we have that information, and before we would accept any offers or even put it out there to.
So we have not advertised
No.
the purchase yet.
No. And we have not, and they told me that, because I told them, well, I'll bring this information back to my school board, and I asked him, I said, if I wait that long, would it change your schedule of being able to do it? He said, no, we should still be able to get to it in early June if you want to go that route. So I haven't given him notice to do it either. That's why it is an action item. If the board decides that we for sure want to do that, then I would just contact them and have them come down and do that.
And we have kept the action item for advertising if that is the route the board decides to go. So we
That's
gave
also
you
another
possible
option.
options
Yes,
of.
okay.
what to
And
do.
we are open to suggestions as far as what you think we should do as far as advertising and that kind of thing. Sorry, we're putting you on the spot again, but anyway.
That
I'm
would be
not
you,
saying-
Tyra.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you have to tell us what to do. We're just, tell us what to do.
Well, are there other thoughts from anyone else before I?
Because we didn't have everybody here last time, so I would like extra input from the board related to what you would like to see happen with that.
I think my thoughts are, you know, if we do choose to go out and advertise, we're really kind of at a little bit of a dilemma if we don't really kind of have an idea of the value. And we're all just guessing, I think, unless we invest a little money to go to somebody that is trained and knowledgeable and knows how to assess land and give us the actual value of the land, or at least the estimated value of the land. And then, once we advertise, if we choose to do that, I think we have far more information to make a very reasonable and responsible, you know, fiscally responsible decision myself. Without that, I think we're kind of just wondering what the land's worth, what the building's worth. I would be in favor. I think that's a fair estimate. Actually came in lower than I thought it would come in.
Yes, I can speak to, residential appraisals are close to 1,000.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be there too.
So that is actually.
But I just
Reasonable,
think without
reasonable.
that information, yeah, we can advertise tomorrow, or we can advertise in 6 months, whatever we want to do, but what do we really know? Somebody comes and says, we'll give you $500,000. Are we
Maybe
ready
that's
to
big.
jump? Are we not? Are we prepared to have an idea? I don't know. I think we've got to do a little homework and maybe even invest a little bit myself.
I agree.
Agreed.
Agreed.
We just can't shoot in the dark and guess.
And you know, we're in a good spot because, I mean, we're not in a desperate situation to move the land. If we need to be a little patient, or if we need to let some things play out, and you know, I know that we don't want the building to become an eyesore, and we got to, you know, think about those concerns, but at the same time, we aren't in a desperate situation to make any kind of anything but a reasonable decision here, so.
Yep.
In
Well, I
my
certainly
opinion.
don't disagree. So I guess the only thing then that I would, you know, ask is, we do have it as an action item to, you know, go forward with an appraisal. So if we could just have that motion, then we just know that that's the board's intent, and then I would have that direction to go and do that. So, but, yeah, I absolutely agree with all of those comments.
We are at the end of this current part of our agenda, so we did talk about it earlier. Yeah. And that is happening in June, and I am planning on attending, and Colleen said she might.
In case you don't.
In case I do, because possibly both of us can vote. Just depends. And everybody on the board, keep yourself aware of the things that are going on with the JLC, because all those things are important to us.
Yes, and they have made those meetings virtual, so I think that's a nice option. You know, if you're not on the JLC, you can still keep on top of what's going
I
on.
think we're getting invites on those too.
Yes, you
Yeah.
should be. If you're
Yeah.
not, please let me know, and I'll make sure
Yeah.
you get included.
Do we need to adjourn for
Yeah.
a
I
break?
think you guys probably want a nice break.
If you guys
It's
want
been a
to
long
eat
day.
something at this point, or take a little short nap?
Yes, just eat again.
Really?
Just, do we need a motion or no? Okay, we're gonna take a
5:20.
Yes.
break until,
I tried to put one of my evergreen cues, I think, on the end.
okay.
So either Lucille or Ron, or both of you. So we're gonna all take a picture with everyone, and this one's,
Wait,
this is anime.
so she's gonna read off, and we're going to,
But we'll do Kim's first,
yes,
and then we'll have her stay up there while we do your lines.
yes.
Since there's no citizen, we're probably gonna have a
Ooh, that'd be perfect.
Let them eat cake.
I know. So serious. Do we tell a Nelson story now? We don't tell stories, huh?
I just go ahead and start? Yeah, okay. All right, welcome back to the San Juan School District Board of Education meeting. It's 6 p.m. We currently don't have any public comments, so we'll go ahead and recognize the Salute to Science Awards, and Superintendent Fitzgerald will tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, great. So tonight we're honoring our amazing science teachers who were nominated for the Salute to Science Award. Texas Instrument provided us this opportunity to pay a $10,000 check for our winner, as well as some other smaller prizes for our finalists. And I just first want to acknowledge our committee that worked on putting this together and working with other school districts in designing how our selection worked. And just we're excited to congratulate all of them. So want to also acknowledge Shannon Dusnetz, who is our science specialist and who's headed this up, and all the work that we've had with Texas Instrument through NIMSY and other opportunities for our teachers. So we are going to start with our winner, who has already been awarded her wonderful check, although it's coming in your paycheck still. But we would like Kim D to come up, who is our Salute to Science winner. If you'll come on up, we'll recognize you first. I think we've got... Hey, Ron. You've got her stuff right there. Yeah, come up and give her her plaque and certificate.
Is that her basket also?
Yeah.
I did, yeah, I did.
10,000.
I know.
Are we all going up?
Yeah,
we're all going to do this first. You guys get, I'm just going to call the names, then I'll come up and join for the pictures. We're all coming up for the picture. So,
Okay.
yep, Kim, you get to stay. So, and we also, it looks like we have.
Right.
I gotta pull out my note because I can't see it now that Terry's right there. And I don't know if Julie Bunker's on there or not.
And then we're good enough for that.
All right, we would now like to recognize our finalists. So we're going to have all of our finalists come up as well. So we have a plaque and a certificate and a small token of appreciation. So when I read your name, you'll come up. Micah Daniels from Montezuma Creek Elementary. Anna Mae Jim from Sabinadiscay Elementary. Jamie Carling from San Juan High. And then we have Terry James from Monument Valley High School, who has joined us virtually. And Julie Bunker from Monticello Elementary, who may still join us virtually. So your picture will be in the background, Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Hi.
Suck it in.
Thank you. I've got a. Right. What was the?
Nelson Gelman's on next recognition.
Yes. So this is me again. Aren't you glad it's not you?
Yes.
So, Nelson, you get to stand up again, and I'm going to say some nice things about you and try not to cry.
I think all of us.
Yeah.
Stand this way?
Stand.
With the light beat, a little bit there.
So, some of us are still in denial about this, but Nelson Yellowman, he was sworn into office January 24th, 2007. Some of us weren't even born then. I'm just joking. I'm elected as board vice president at that meeting. Wow. Nelson Yellowman was elected as board president January 14th, 2009, and served as the board president for 2 terms until December 2013. From January 2009, in January 2009, the board approved an agreement with MHTN to begin the design to build the new elementary school in Monument Valley, and the name recommended is Sky.
So that means the sky.
I like the way you say it better. Elementary school. And in September of 2011, say it again.
So that means the sky.
Elementary school grand opening. In August 2012, the Monticello Elementary design was approved, and it doesn't have a special name. What's up with that? And then November 2012, do you remember what happened in November of 2012?
I really don't, honestly.
Yeah, it was the library fire at San Juan High. So that was that wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
He was around when that happened. Okay, and in December 2013, in Montezuma Creek, what happened? One of those interesting events.
Gonna bring that one up?
Yeah,
That was painful.
Yep, carbon monoxide leak. Yep. And he helped make sure that got taken care of, right? You're very proactive about those kinds of things. 2014, Monticello Elementary was completed. February 2019 was the groundbreaking for Bluff Elementary. He was here for the Montezuma Elementary Gymnasium construction, COVID-19. I thought these were supposed to be celebrations. No, he was here for so many things. And in November 2021, Bluff Elementary School was completed. Landing Elementary construction began in 2024. The new playground at Montezuma Creek Elementary was completed in 2024. And just in November of 2024, we elected our first majority Native American school board, and Nelson was part of it. And we're super sad about this next part, but in May 2025, Nelson is resigning from the board, but we are so thankful for him, and he's not getting out of still mentoring some of us, so thank you for all you've done, and you're probably still going to hear from us, and it's not going to hurt our feelings if you tell us we're doing something wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Speech. I just want to say thank you for the stakeholders, the parents, the students of this county. I enjoyed serving our students and working with the staff. I did my best, gave it many years. I am kind of tired. So I wish the best of luck to the school district and the students. Thank you again.
You want to take a picture with them? Yeah. And your new cup.
Yeah, grab that. Sorry, I didn't even think to take it out.
We're going to make you hold this flag for us.
So we know what it's about.
You go first.
board and you would.
Equally in the board with
Yes. What are CPA step for? Just a smidge. Turn sideways. Turn all sideways. Thank you.
No alligator
Nope, I need
tears.
wrong. Sideways and forward.
This is why we have you the
Boss.
Still bossing around, are we?
No. Make us look good. No filter.
And we do have cakes to celebrate, so all of you who are here who would like some cake, we'll be serving that in the back.
Come
Oh, Eva's still down.
Still going.
Oh.
Come back to your spot.
Please. I think I have one more person who wants them too. I got it. Oh, you got it? Okay. Thank you.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
We do actually have time for cake because we're a little bit ahead of schedule at this point.
Do we want to do the cake?
Yeah, Eva's cutting it right now.
Thank you.
All right, everybody that's here, you still have a moment if you want to have a public comment. But otherwise, we're just going to enjoy the cake.
Chocolate or white?
White, please. Thank you.
I'm not going to decline this.
Thank you, Laura.
Don't worry about me. She's way too fat.
Not to that far, just that I won't.
Yeah, I agree. You'd have to agree so quick. Was that a grant with Texas Insurance that we worked?
It's not even a grant, they just,
Have a
they
program?
contacted us and said, we'd like to support your science and STEM. And then they paid, it's been a few years now that they've got it, they've had a summer conference that they go to and cover all the costs.
Oh, wow.
Training and stuff, so we've had quite a few teachers that participate. And they've had this, award for teachers, for STEM teachers for years, and they contacted us and the other part and said, we'd like to give you this. So
That's
it's our first
fantastic.
year doing it.
What a cool company.
Yeah, and then next year we get together.
Oh, like that.
20,000? Two 10,000?
Two 10,000.
In science?
So next year we'll expand it to all STEM categories.
Oh, so
Yeah.
That's amazing.
that is really, really cool.
They had to be nominated first, and then they had to fill out a packet, then submit that, and then the committee went and did observations.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So it
Good
was
things
quite the
happening.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, good things happening. It's so great to be able to come forward the great work our teachers do.
They deserve it.
Definitely. And Miss D's classroom is so fun. She's really interactive, and I got to learn how far blood droplets go in her forensics class. So
Oh.
I was learning too.
I know.
I remember when Kim really.
I do
I remember
too.
when Kim started in the elementary school as an aide in our we pulled them for science.
Yeah.
And she loved it, and so she said, "I'm gonna go education."
I forgot about that. She was at Montezuma.
Yeah, is that Montezuma Creek
They
Elementary?
did that as a special kind of.
Not special.
Wow.
That's how. Yeah, that was her. That was her beginnings. And it took off from there. Look where she's gone.
Product of our own school district.
She's amazing.
process right here
Yeah.
instead of.
I mean, we still, I mean, if you wanted to, you could do the consent agenda.
Yeah.
There's some things you could do if you want.
Do you know if Donna's coming in person?
Yeah, they both.
Normally, something like this.
Yeah, that doesn't
You
start
need it
until
tonight.
6:30.
Yeah, I did.
Let me throw that away for you?
Yes, please.
Can do that, get it. I need some steps.
Is there-
Yeah, I think I should do consent agenda.
Are we still live streaming? Yeah, okay.
That's right,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not, there's not really,
No, it's fine, leave it open.
really main things. There's not huge things on the consent agenda.
No, it should be.
Yeah.
You can hear that gulp.
Take a picture of you in your last seat.
Oh.
Thank you, girl.
Don't forget to take your name plaque. You can put on the kitchen table when you sit down for
Did you get confirmation from both of them? Did they?
Laura's the one who printed it, so.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'm pretty sure that one.
Yeah.
Are we saving all the action items till the end?
We're saving them all at the end.
We can do the consent agenda.
Can we do?
Some of the action items?
Well, I'm saying, can we do? We don't have to. We can do the action items before close, though, right?
I think so.
Because we have some closed, but I don't think it impacts anything related to the agenda, right?
You mean like the closed session won't Won't have anything to do with the action items?
Yeah, so like, I'm just, if we did closed after everything else so that other staff could
Yes.
go.
I think that was the plan already, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she did have confirmations of it with me. She's gonna call him just to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, board members, if you don't mind, I think, because we have a few minutes before we do the appointment process for the vacancy for District 5, we could discuss the consent agenda. So if anyone wants to make a motion to approve that.
To approve the consent agenda?
Mm-hmm.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Or,
Second.
okay, any discussion related to that?
No.
No.
Oh, you guys? You're too fast. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Do you want to discuss some of the information items at this time?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
So next board meeting will be June 17th here in the district boardroom. That is also our budget hearing. Our last day of school will be May 23rd. Attached is the graduation schedules. As well as the graduation schedules, you also have the retirement celebrations. So that's on there as well. And then I've also added the board administrative meeting schedule. So that has the board schedule that was approved by the board, and then you also now have the district meetings with directors meeting and principals meeting added to that as well.
Yes, thank you for including that. And anyone can unofficially hear or at any time let Superintendent Fitzgerald know which of those graduation ceremonies and retirement events
Did you guys already
you're
send that
wanting
to
to.
Eva?
I don't.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you can let me know as well.
yeah. You can let Eva know.
I'd be the MHS.
You can let me know, but I'll probably
MES.
forget to tell whoever I'm supposed to tell.
Okay, I'll,
Yeah.
Or if you just tell me, I can write it down right now.
MHS, MES.
Okay.
I think I wanted to work it out with Lucille, which ones will take,
Just let me know.
right, unless you plan on going to all
So
of them.
Navajo Mountain, maybe.
Except for Navajo Mountain.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do Navajo Mountain, Monument Valley, or Whitehorse.
I might try to make it to Monument Valley, but I can't
I know.
to Navajo Mountain because I will be attending the Blanding Elementary and ARL. But I think I did already kind of tell you that. No, Eva is who I told, but yeah.
Your list, okay.
Would it be okay to attend Monticello?
You can attend any
Oh,
of
okay.
them that you would like.
Okay.
Or all of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Make her sing the national anthem over there.
Hey, you're leaving us, so.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
And, by the way, graduating class at Navajo Mountain
I'm just gonna.
class had asked me to be the commencement speaker.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'll be speaking there.
Awesome.
You're gonna plug running for school board as well, right?
I'm a candidate against.
Works.
How many are graduating? What's their graduating?
8, I believe.
Awesome.
So you still have a chance to hear me one more time.
We can practice right now if you'd like.
I need to practice my acceptance speech. I got it down, though.
That's good.
Ask my wife.
I know, she's.
Well, we got Terry here.
Well, since he's here and he's the first listed, but it would be better, it would also be better if they could both be here for the introduction.
The most quiet board today.
Yes.
He'll be here.
Answer your questions and leave any time for, if there's any questions from us.
He'll be here in a moment, she said.
Okay.
He'll be here in a moment.
Does he have the questions?
We
Oh,
gave them to him already.
okay.
Do we have another copy?
They're on the agenda.
The agenda.
Okay, Mr. White Hat, if you're willing to come up, we're ready for you.
Let's make sure Jared has the.
And
Do we want to move that forward?
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you.
the questions should be available for you. You,
He hasn't with him.
okay, and you will have 10 minutes to answer the questions, but you can also leave a little bit of time if you want to answer questions from us. So, just a little guideline.
Okay, well, thank you. Is this even on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, it's been more than 30 years since I've been in this building. I'm a graduate from San Juan School District. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a drink now and then. I'm traveling from Nalpha Mountain. That is my primary residency. I do have a master's degree, and as mentioned, I am a graduate from San Juan School District, and this is the school that I used to attend. Advanced placement in English is the course I studied here. I'm going to proceed with question 1, and I'm going to wear my glasses here. Says, what are the greatest educational issues facing public education today? And I thought about this over the weekend, and I think all school has this issue, that is inadequate funding. And my second answer to the question is safety concerns. That includes mental issues. That includes depression. That includes anxieties. And followed by substance use and suicide. These are issues that I'm quite concerned about. And it keeps me up at night. There is it doesn't stop at social economic status. It does not stop at skin color. It does not stop at political affiliation. These are issues that we deal with on a daily basis. And as school boards, we should be concerned, as well as parents. And I see a solution that is providing counseling for these sort of issues, and possibly school activities, extracurricular, support network, and possibly provide a theater or sports. These are possibilities that students may participate to prevent any of the issues that I mentioned. And that is addressing what are the greatest educational issues facing public education today. And then I'm going to proceed with question 2. And it says, describe what you believe to be one or two of the major challenges facing the San Juan School District, and explain how you would address these challenges. I read the articles regarding of movement of teachers or administrators leaving San Juan School District. My first reaction was, why? What is going on? I didn't have an answer. That would be an issue for me. Retaining teachers who are skilled educators, experienced teachers, and providing teacher housings. Back to that first issue regarding truancies. Where I'm from, it's not anything like here or Monticello. I say that because we don't have streets. We have dirt roads. We don't have gravel roads. We have dirt roads. And that includes the area of Monument Valley and Oljeto. And I'm going to include Aneth area as well. Because of inclement weathers, we do have issues. Students tend to not come to school, especially where I'm from, because, as mentioned, we do have dirt roads. We get snow out there, and we get monsoon season out there as well, which cause roads to disintegrate. So we do need to maintain school bus routes, and I feel badly for students who have to ride in long rides just to go attend school. So possibly provide a budget for that, maintaining roads, and provide better teacher retention as well as school administrators. And I'm going to go ahead and jump to question 3. And I apologize when I take another sip here. And that question is, if you could change one thing in San Juan School District, what would be and how would you change it? I thought about this, and I couldn't really think of anything. But when I was attending courses here in high school 30 odd years ago, I had a teacher who taught AP English. I took her class. I thoroughly enjoyed that class. Another class that I took was advanced computers classes. Again, I enjoyed that. But at the time, I didn't see these courses down in Alpha Mountain. Actually, Alpha Mountain wasn't built yet. It was not available in Monument Valley or Whitehorse High School.
Okay, you're running
And
short on time.
I don't know if they're available.
so
I'm sorry.
I'm just letting you know you're running short on time.
Okay. Is that for the third, do I need to
All
address?
of them. It's for all questions.
Okay, I apologize. Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is possibly provide equity in terms of education opportunities, because it impacts our ability to earn incomes in the future. It really does. Finally, in reference to the last question, if you were a candidate in election for school board education, what would your key message be to your constituents? I would say support student education. And possibly reduce class sizes, upgrade facilities, a better representation, improve communication, and provide transparencies. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna, just because I interrupted, does anyone have any questions related to any of that? Just because I wanted to. Sorry to pressure you, I just didn't want you to miss out on the opportunity to say all the things that you wanted to say. So, thank you.
No question.
Okay. Thank you for your time. We will. Yeah, let me kind of review.
Do you want me to help?
Yeah.
So the process will be, we have one more candidate that is going to come and address the board. After that, the board will rank the candidates, and that will be put up on the screen so we can see the rankings at that time and any discussion that the board would like to have. And then there is a possible action item for them to make a motion to appoint whichever candidate they choose. So if you want to stay, that's going to happen in the next
Okay.
15 to 20 minutes.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and stay. Thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Mr. White. I did have a question. Is there something that you felt was more important than all that you might have missed in saying, or being able to let us know as a board that you wanted to make sure was said within your questions? Maybe you might have missed it, or...
I think these questions are legit. It didn't really ask for experience, but I'm not a teacher, so I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Don Mose, you're welcome to come to the pulpit. And as soon as he puts the time up on the board, you can start answering the questions. Do you have them in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And also,
Yeah.
okay. So just once, yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for this opportunity. First of all, my name is Donald Mose. I am from Monument Valley. No dot tachit ni shlan. Tachit ni dasha chedo. Onagat ni dasha nela do. Tachit ni dasha nela. And the first question I want to start, of course, the first question, what are the greatest educational issues facing public education today? Although there's several answers or problems I could list, I came up with 5 that I felt were relevant for our school district. That being our teachers' shortages, competitive salaries for our teachers, declining test scores, increase in mental health concerns among our students, funding issues, and curriculum relevance, meaning do we have the right curriculum for our students? I'm more of an advocate of finding strengths of each individual student and base those strengths and build a curriculum around them, as opposed to standardized testing. Moving on to the second question. Describe what you believe to be one or two of the major challenges facing San Juan School District, and explain how you would address these challenges. Of the problems I voiced, 2 of them are quite concerning to me. As a chairperson of the IEC and the JOM funding, I have seen in the past month or so our funding decrease by 75%, and it could go even lower, which is a dramatic cut, and it could get even worse for our students. And the way it's going could get even worse. So how are we gonna alleviate some of the budget issues? We, as a school district, being that we are partially on the Navajo reservation, have a little more access to federal funding, and I'm sure that together we could find solutions to some of these funding issues. Another concern that I had also was with teacher retention and competitive salaries. And that kind of goes hand in hand with our funding issues. We need to find quality teachers that we can keep here in San Juan County. I know it's tough to keep those teachers here, being that we're not too close to any suburban type facilities or amenities. So I am a firm believer that highly effective teachers will improve student outcomes. Moving on to question 3. If you could change one thing in the school district, what would it be? As I have been here in the school district, I am actually a product of the school district. I've attended Mexican Head Elementary School into Monument Valley High School, and now I am employed by USU for 18 years. So I've seen both sides of the secondary schooling onto higher education. And the one thing that, as a SEC member as well, I'm seeing is the fact that we don't have a lot of parent participation. There is a lack of, for a lack of better term, caring. We need that from our parents to really encourage our students. And of course, we know that with our parents behind our students, they tend to do a lot better. And I, for one, have been an advocate for our high school as I represent my student. He has struggled, but we have found ways to help him to achieve his goals and also satisfy his graduation credits. So he has excelled, and I know it is because of the support that we give him, and also the
support that he gets from his teachers as they see that we care. Our teachers tend to care more so. Finally,
if I was to, if I were a candidate this election year, what would be my message to my constituencies? As I was laying in bed last night, just kind of thinking of what I was going to say, I thought, well, I got to have a platform to stand on, and I came up with a slogan, but before I read it, I would like to kind of explain how I came up with it. My father is Don Mose Jr., and has worked with the school district back in the 70s, the 80s, into the 2000s, and actually retired with the school district. He has been a major advocate for cultural preservation, especially Navajo. Has created books, curriculum, just across the road here. And I know you guys have, our board members have seen some of his work, if not in elementary school, later on in some of his other works. And as I was walking down the hallway, I saw some of his work there. So now he did that through technology at the time. Wasn't very great, but they saw potential in the ideas that he had, and he ran with it, him and his constituents, and I would like to continue that legacy. And let me just read the slogan that I came up with. Continuing a legacy of blending culture, technology, and innovation through education. And I think that, in a nutshell, would be my platform as a candidate for a school, the District 5 school board member. And I thank you for the time to be present here. And thank you very much.
Okay, don't leave yet. We're going to let people take the opportunity to ask you a couple questions if they want to.
Can you read your slogan one more time for me?
Sure. Continuing a legacy of blending culture, technology, and innovation through education.
Thank you.
Okay, Nelson?
I just want to clarify the numbers that he gave us with the Johnson O'Malley. You might want to sit down.
It's worse, I know.
Yeah.
Is it 90% now?
92% across
92%, yeah.
across the Navajo Nation.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So, to both of the candidates, when you were talking about funding, this is going to be your biggest challenge
I
Your
believe
first,
so.
your first step right here is to try to deal with these federal fundings. Just wanted to
Yeah.
let you know that. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Question? I have a question.
Yes.
So I really enjoy what you're advocating for, but a lot of what we do here and a lot of the changes that we're making as a board is, yes, we know what the problems are. We can identify them, and we definitely know what those issues are. But my question is, would you bring the solution as well? Because if you can identify the problem,
Right,
I'm
right.
sure you have a solution to that.
Right.
And we can advocate, but are you vocal about advocating?
And that has been one of my platforms as I've joined the SEC in our school, is to be a voice of equity, not only for our school, but I'm talking across the whole district, because this doesn't just affect our schools down south. This is a problem that is San Juan School District's problem that we all need to deal with together. So as we work together, possibly, my ears are open, my heart is open, my mind is clear, and I have identified a problem. But as a committee together, as a quorum to tackle these problems, I think that we can do it together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How involved are you with your chapter?
I actually, through USU, we actually secured $14 million of funding, and our building is just about halfway done now. But we actually had to advocate through the chapter, so we went and got letters of support from the chapter. We actually drove down to Winter Rock and presented our bill to the Navajo Nation Council. And that was a great experience, and we did secure $500,000. And we did have also the Lieutenant Governor down, Deidre Henderson, and we got to meet with her, and she was rather impressed with our presentation and the need of a new building down in Monument Valley. So I try to stay active in our community and the pushing issues that are always facing the chapter in our community.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we need to have any follow-up questions? All right.
I do.
We are.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Another.
For him or?
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the questions is, being a candidate for the election year, would you be running after your interim, should you be selected? Would you run for school board?
I would, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Board President,
Yes.
one more comment. I feel like I got to share this with both of you, because being here for 19 years, I was once where you were at, the both of you. And you said it, it's the board's got to work with you, and you got to work with the board to pursue these ideas, these goals. Just want to share that with you.
Yeah.
And from there, it just all disseminates down with all the stakeholders all the way around.
Yeah.
And there's many different kinds of stakeholders, starting with students. So you just have to work with everybody.
Yeah, and to your point, I actually read in the on the web page, it has a section there of the responsibility of the board, and a lot of it talked about how the decisions are made, and that when a decision is made, that it is final and it should be supported by the board as a whole. And I do believe that as well, putting bad feelings aside, prejudices aside, and moving forward for the benefit of our stakeholders and students.
Right. Our main purpose is to educate the students,
Yes,
give them the best in education, buildings, food, transportation. That is our responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, board members, if you go into your email, you should have a link there that you can vote.
Eva, sometimes your emails get sent to my personal email.
It's coming from.
Okay, I'm just saying, because yeah, okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. Came from Jacob.
Jacob Redden.
Yeah, I got Canva.
It just barely came.
Refreshed.
Yeah.
Should have just stayed quiet for a second.
You're good.
You're missing one. We're missing one, so if you'll just go back and check and make sure, you shouldn't be able to.
It should say your response.
I think we got it.
All day.
What's that? Something went wrong. Oh, your computer's fighting you.
Yeah, all day I've been fighting.
It like goes in and out of his like network keeps dropping and
Yeah, it does, and then I log back in again and.
comes up and comes.
Right here. Does that
Okay.
work?
It doesn't want you to leave, Nelson.
I know.
Give us some flack back.
It's anchoring me down.
Marilina's saying, let's go.
Get it to Jared, he'll put it up.
I'm nervous.
Can I just say, while we wait for this, we really appreciate the opportunity of those that showed up willing to serve. It is an important role, and we're grateful for your interest, and it matters.
I'd have to second that. I would just say, please continue to advocate for the students, the parents, and education as a whole, because as we know, it's vital to our life, our livelihood, and I hope that from here on out you consider. We do have election year coming up, so even if not today, then we have then or another time, or you can take over my spot. But
You might have to move.
but even that, the support is always welcomed, whether that's coming to our board meetings, whether that's supporting our students in the school, attending SEC meetings, IEC meetings, any way that you can, even substituting. That would be also something that we can advocate for, because any help that we can get, that will only help us to get further with our students and for our students. So thank you very much, both of you. That was my motion. My eyes are burning.
I'm just glad I'm not on the tech side. Glad we have such great people that can do that for us.
I don't want to eat my cake and then smile and have it. Are you saying I have chocolate in my tea?
No, you're fine. Don't worry, June will be just as.
Do you want to explain to us what this looks like?
Do you want him to come to the?
Okay.
Can you come to the podium?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the survey just had both candidates' names, and it was just selecting one, so the graph is just showing the responses. So it looks like it was 5 selections for, I can't read the name, I'm
Donald
sorry.
Miles, okay.
Yeah, so.
All right, and the next step, you remind me.
Any discussion that you want to have?
So we sort of did, but anybody's welcome to say anything more. The other thing is, we discussed that as the candidate that has been selected, Donald Mose, what do you go by?
I go by Don.
Okay. You will be sworn in at the next board meeting.
If the motion passes. We
If-
still have to make a motion.
We still have to, when we move on to our, yeah. If we appoint you, which, going off of what we have expressed interest in, when we go through our action items, then you would be sworn in at the next board meeting, which is June 17th.
June 17th. Okay.
We'll let you squirm for a little bit while longer.
Yeah. And at this point, I would like to, I think we're ready to move on to the action items.
If you don't have anything to discuss, then it.
Did anyone else have something that they wanted to?
I would like to thank both candidates. I thought that both of those presentations were outstanding. Coming all the way from Navajo Mountain to be with us here this evening, I really appreciated that, and your answers were spot on, and coming from Miami Valley, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Did you have anything?
I would just like to say thank you, and all your answers were on point. Thank you, and thank you for deciding to run for school board. So thank you, and I appreciate that.
And I think we also discussed that this term ends in December of 2026. So you've committed at least that long, if, as I said, on our action items as we move forward. So
And then the public will decide,
yes,
1 year.
the voters.
All right, we can, if you'll join me moving on to the agenda items, possible action items.
We have a possible action item here as part of this section of the agenda.
Oh, do we have, oh, that's
Yeah,
right,
so
we do
if-
do
If a
it
board member
now.
would like to make a motion to appoint, this would be the time to do it.
Oh, we would do it now.
If
You-
you see, it's
you
on
did
number
put that
4.
on the agenda. I
It's
just
number
skipped
4
it.
on the
Sorry.
agenda.
Yeah.
So it's separate than your other action items just because of this process that we're doing.
Do you want? I move to appoint, I make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. I move to appoint Donald Mose III as a District 5 board member effective June 1st, 2025.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Congratulations.
You're the eye and he's out the door.
He's not sworn in yet,
He's got
but he
the
still has
quick
to go to
exit
work
down anyway.
first.
He's kicking his heels on the way out.
Quality trait right there.
Thank you for pointing that out to me, Christy. I was trying to find it on the action items and it wasn't
you're
there.
good. Yeah, you're good.
Because it was earlier.
We just didn't want to have
So-
to make them wait if there was other things in
Yes, thank you. All right. So if you want to just start in the order, remember again, we have added some direction for how to word some of the action items. Some of them you can figure out on your own, I hope.
Struggled with that last
I'm
one.
leaving it up to you guys.
I will make a motion to approval of sending our students and advisors to the Unity Conference in San Diego as presented in this meeting.
I second.
All right, any discussion?
No.
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. The next item.
And I would like to make a motion to accept the JOM letter of support from Ms. Brenda Whitehorse as the director of Johnson O'Malley to submit to Navajo Nation President Bo Nygren.
And as well as the,
As well as
the human rights.
What was it? The
Navajo.
Oh, for us
Navajo
to be able to share.
Commission.
Utah Navajo Commission.
Oh, and to be able to.
Has to be part of it.
And also include it with the Utah Navajo Commission.
Mm-hmm. Second.
Okay, any discussion related to that?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tyrell, I feel like you're over there watching me to make sure I say things correctly.
Not at all.
All right. The next thing is,
I make a motion for school-based mental health screening grant questionnaire for,
to be included.
to be included in registration packet for 25-26 school year.
Second.
Awesome, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're all hoping there's some guidelines on this one.
I got it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to repeal policy number 8220 and 8230 and adopt policy number 8250 and 8260.
Is that
All
right?
right, this is the one where he
That
has to
was
double check.
I wrote notes on it. I don't
I
know.
did too.
So
It's supposed to be there, I think.
8220 is actually the one we need to adopt the revisions to. So,
Is it the opposite?
no, so I think you repealed 8220, right?
Yes.
So we want to, definitely, we don't want to repeal 8220. So I do have in the recommended action on the board agenda, what the policy numbers that we would be repealing is 8230 and 40.
Oh, it's under the agenda, that's right.
In there, I think.
That's what I don't see it. I know, I think mine logged me out, so I'm just
I
seeing
don't
it as
see
a
it
regular
anywhere.
person.
So I got to, what is my motion?
To repeal,
So
You made a motion, if nobody seconds it.
It's dead on the
fail
table.
to
Yeah.
lack of a
Correct.
second, and someone could make another motion.
yeah, just,
Yeah.
So
just-
if
yeah,
nobody
just go ahead and
seconds
make
that,
a
then
clean
you
motion.
could declare it's
Okay, I will make a motion to recommend to appeal the current 8230 and 8240 and adopt the recommended changes 8220, 8250, and 8260.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Lucille seconded that. Any discussion?
I will, yeah, just a comment, and I just want to make sure now, there's no really time concern with this policy, right? I mean,
No.
it is a big one, and anyway.
Did you have any questions on
No, I
it?
don't think so, but
Okay.
anyway, if I were gonna push one to another month, it's probably one like this that really is big, and there's a lot of angles to it. I've learned that in my experience in the past, but no, I think we're okay, I guess.
I think we're okay.
As long as we all feel comfortable,
Yeah.
because there's no time pressing this, but anyway.
I have a comment, and Tyrell, just to re-clarify, we did send this back to the principals and then cleared up whatever we needed to clear up and bring it to today's
Yes.
agenda.
Yeah, they did provide some recommendations that we not change certain things and that they were okay with the changes that were being proposed.
So this did go to policy committee. Originally, they went to administrators and then back to policy committee. So
Yeah.
it's been to the board policy committee twice.
So,
Okay.
if that helps, yeah.
All right. So with that said,
Now we need some government.
all in favor?
Did you push that button?
That's a public comment.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
He's out of here, so he can say whatever he
Again,
wants.
action items are optional, and if we choose to pass by something, it can be moved to the next. But as was discussed previously, these things have gone through the committee and
I will
and
make a
other.
motion on 5.
All right, let's hear
I
it.
will motion that we approve policy 4341, postpartum and parental leave policy.
Second.
With an effective July date.
Oh, which will be effective as of July 1, 2025.
And now you can say it.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. We forgot our little button. Anyway, any discussion related to that?
No.
I think we already had that, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? A little bit more complicated one.
Well, there's a pretty good help.
All right.
That's all we need to motion for, right? It's what's listed there.
Mhm.
I motion to approve the employee compensation and salary tables for 2025-2026 school year.
I second that.
Okay, discussion. I just feel like it's a change in the right direction when we're trying to be competitive. So that's my little. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
This is the one that's going to be tricky.
I'll make a motion on this.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we authorize Business Administrator, Mr. Pemberton, to work with the appraising firm to complete an appraisal under the circumstances which he explained to us tonight of the present Blanding Elementary School and property, and report back to us as soon as possible. Maybe in June, maybe not. See how that plays out.
Perfect.
I second.
Any discussion related to that?
No.
Again, I think we did a good job talking about it, so thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You guys are so boring.
We're trying to make it easy for
All right,
Nelson.
now again, as I said, some of these things are optional, so it can be tabled until the next time, but
Do we need to make a motion?
we
to table?
don't have to make a motion. I'm just saying.
So what we're doing with the appraisal, I don't know. what
Yeah,
we
I would
want
like
until-
to table.
So that's good for,
Yeah.
me. The next motion that we need to make is to go into closed session for personnel.
I make a motion to go into closed session for personnel.
Second.
At this time, I think we have covered everything on the agenda. So, staff and, and visitors, anyone is welcome to.
Do you want me to add?
Can we
that
do
to
a
my motion?
roll call first before we?
Yes, and we'll need to do a roll call for going into closed session first.
Ron Nielsen, yes.
No, we didn't have a second for going
Yeah.
into closed session yet.
I did.
No, Lucille did,
I didn't
yeah.
hear
Oh,
it.
I made a motion.
Colleen
Lucille
motion,
seconded.
Lucille seconded.
Sorry, I didn't hear the second.
She whispered it.
Yeah.
Lucille Cody, yes.
Colleen Benelli, yes.
Nan Barton, yes.
Nelson Yellowman,
Oh, sound excited.
We're gonna keep you for another 2 hours.
We're keeping you as
just so
long as
you
we
know.
can.
You know, it's a